All right, so I would like to open up the September 23rd meeting of the Wakefield Conservation Commission. We'll take roll call. Frank.
Present.
Ken. Ken, are you there?
Yeah, here.
Jimmy. But Jimmy just dropped out. Peter?
Here.
Silvana?
Silvana just sent a text saying she can't unmute her yeah.
Okay. And Teresa?
Yeah.
All right, Jim, can you hear us?
Maybe he's talking to Silvana.
Yeah.
Silvana says she's blocked. Did you do that, Bob?
No. Did not. It's not even an option.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jimmy.
Okay.
I would never accuse you of that, Bob. Sorry.
I can put her in the waiting room. I can mute her, but no, I cannot block her.
It says here that the host is not allowing participants to unmute themselves. She sent a screenshot.
Yeah, I just sent a ask to unmute to her. She's muted, not from this end, but she's muted.
So I'm sorry, I'll stop.
Okay. All right, first up is the approval of the minutes from September 9th. Anybody have any corrections or questions or comments? And if not, would somebody like to make a motion to approve those minutes?
I did read all 5.5 pages. I have no comments. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
You have it?
I'm back. Finally,
Okay.
something happened.
All right, we have a second. So polling, Frank,
Yes.
Silvana,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
and I vote to approve the minutes. All right, next up is 410 Salem Street, Harren Pond. There is no DEP file number yet. Is a notice of intent for the construction of a retaining wall and drainage structures within a buffer to BVW. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Greg Hockmuth from Williams and Sparagus, representing the applicant, Harren Pond Condominium Trust. The notice of intent filed for buildings 1 and 2 at 410 Salem Street. Would it be possible for me to share my screen?
Yes, hang on for 1 second. We'll make that possible.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to start with just a quick aerial, just to give everybody their bearings. I'm pretty sure everybody knows where Harren Pond is. If anybody doesn't, it's shown here on this aerial photo from Oliver. Salem Street is at the top of the right of the screen where that big white truck is. And as you enter the development, the first 2 buildings on your right are buildings 1 and 2. And there's a very, very obvious wetland edge that comes into play for these buildings. It's a wall that was built more than likely when the development was put in. And the BVW boundary is somewhere in that wall for the most part, pretty close to the toe of the slope. I wanted to just pull up my site plan. Can everybody see that?
Got it.
Yeah.
So these are the 2 buildings that we were just looking at, buildings 1 and 2. And what's going on out here behind these buildings, over the years, there's been some settling. And there's some water that's flowing back towards some of the buildings. And some of the downspouts just discharge right near the decks, and there's low points and the water gets trapped. So the idea is to regrade the area so that water flows away from the building and extend the downspouts so they're no longer discharging right next to the foundation.
Mhm.
All the works within buffer zone, maintained lawn or landscaped areas. There's no work proposed to the actual wall itself that is the bank around the pond. I think trying to solve the settling issue by dismantling that wall and building a new wall would be a major undertaking and probably not work. The main area of the settling is behind building 2. And if you walk back there, it doesn't look bad, but it's not a uniform slope anymore. There's a lot of ups and downs. And what we want to do is just be able to regrade that as it was when the development went in, just to make it flat, lawn. But to do so, we have to build a small wall on top of the boulder wall, which will just be about 2 blocks high. And you can see it up in our detail. Up in our detail here, the right side, where we see it show these boulders, that's the existing wall around the pond. What we'd be proposing to do is to scoop out a little bit of earth on top of that, put in some filter fabric, put compacted gravel backfill in that depression that we make, and then just construct a small 2-block high wall that will allow us to grade up to. We can't stack more boulders on top of the existing wall because we don't know what the structural integrity of that is. It's settling for a reason, and we just can't start adding more boulders to it. So separating the new wall from the top of the existing wall will take the load off it and put the load up against the new block wall that we're proposing. And again, it's 2 blocks high, so I think each block is about 10 inches, so it's not very large at all.
Greg, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Wasn't there, I remember there was drainage, isn't there downspouts coming down the buildings now?
There are, so that we're
And
not,
aren't there, doesn't go into an underground system?
it does not. No. In fact, there's a lot of depressions next to the decks where the downspouts go down.
Yeah,
And there are some of the units have this already, but these units do not. And the good news is it's roof runoff, and roof runoff is clean and not a type of stormwater that would have to be treated.
yeah,
So extending the downspouts to daylight just before the wall, it just seems to make sense. Get it away from the buildings.
okay.
But
So when
unfortunately,
you, excuse me again, but so when you regrade, are you starting at the BBW and grading back to the house, elevating it as you go?
no. So we won't be close to the BBW. We'll be close to the top of the wall, but the BBW boundary is pretty close to the toe of the wall where it meets the water in a normal season. So all of the work will be within the existing lawn area.
Okay,
So will you bury the downspouts and have them daylight at the filter fabric area?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So if you walk behind these buildings post-construction, you'll see the downspouts going into what looks like a subsurface infiltration chamber. But they'll just enter downspouts into a pipe that will extend out to daylight just before the wall.
And how close to the BVW is that new wall?
Yeah, so good question. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just so you can see. And it doesn't look like I can annotate, but that's okay. I'm going to use my pointer. So 50 feet from the wetlands is this line here that cuts through the building. So we're probably within 8 to 10 feet at the closest point with the wall right in here. And it's set back just from the top course of the existing boulder wall that surrounds the pond. It'd be nice to just add more boulders and have everything look like it does today and just add another course, but we just can't stamp a plan like that because we don't know what that boulder wall looks like. And we'll be making it higher, and technically anything over 4 feet requires a building permit.
Yeah.
But and these buildings have been here for a while, and this is really the only 2 units that have experienced some settling. And based on our observations, we suspect that when they were constructing that wall, they probably buried some boulders and just put loam over them. And over the years, that loam and soils kind of washed through, and now you have these little pockets.
Are they getting water in their basements?
Well, Steve Mangano's on the call, and he's with the property management company. Steve might be able to answer that question. I don't know the answer to that.
Do have an occasional issue with water in building 2.
Thanks, Steve. But water next to a building is never good,
Yeah, no,
especially with the frequency of the storm events getting a little bit more damp each time.
yeah, I mean, I would say this is a good solution to, that's what you need to do.
Right. Get the water away from the foundations.
Right. Yeah,
Greg, do you have any photos of that area?
I think I do. Bear with me for a minute. I just have to.
While you're looking for those, can I ask, do we have any outstanding issues with Harren Pond right now?
are you talking to Elaine?
Yeah,
Oh,
Is Elaine here?
Yes, Elaine's
yes,
here.
no, I'm right here. Let's see. The last thing I have in my notes here was a request for soil analysis, and Steve was going to get back to me on that, but I don't think I ever heard from him. Steve, where do we stand on that?
Elaine, that was provided to you.
Was it? My apologies.
Yep.
Perhaps it was.
So I do have a photo here. I'm going to. I might have to stop sharing, and then. Did that show up?
So then
It
we
did.
should be good.
Yeah.
We should be good on any outstanding issues.
thank you.
Tracy, you're welcome.
So it's a little difficult to see in this photo, but it doesn't really do it justice as far as the.
I can see the units are heading downhill.
Yeah.
It's very uneven. So our wall would be down in this location. And then we just pick up the grade a little bit, so it's not falling off so rapidly.
Right. I can
And-
see a high point in front of that HVAC compressor. And the bulkhead that I do see low points.
Right in here.
Yeah. And
And
then,
there's a lot of those all along the back of the building.
Right where the gas meters are, it looks really low.
right.
Yeah.
Right. It's
Yeah.
sloping, back sloping.
Yeah. Okay, so, but you do think you need to go all the way to the wall with the regrading, right? Or to the, where you want to put them?
We do. We have to pick that grade up a little bit. And part of the reason is there's a very thin layer of loam here.
But
And-
it looks like the only place it's dipping down is like at the foot of those stairs. It looks like the high point. And it's almost like if you picked it up from there to the house, you would solve your problem.
Yeah, the photo doesn't really do it justice.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I can see some depressions.
And of course, behind this, where I was taking the photo, behind it's the same situation. It's behind that whole building.
Do you have a photo showing the wall itself?
I probably do. Let me just look through here.
While you're looking, the roof drain that's running north to south against the building, that's going to be underground as well.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So the roof drain that's running north to south, kind of against the building or against the decks, that's also going to be underground, right?
It is, yes. Yep.
Will this slow the leach? Will this slow the, will this add some protection to the pond by, either creating more filtration or by slowing the rapidity of the runoff down the slope and into the pond?
Yeah, well, I mean, so everything's settling and I don't know where that material is going. So I suppose it will, because, an uneven surface with thin vegetation in areas is prone to erosion, which causes sedimentation of the resource area. I don't think there's going to be a drastic change here. The same amount of water is going to make it to the pond. It just may get there a little slower. Right now, it's a pretty steep slope. We're going to flatten that slope a little bit. So I suppose during a above average storm event, it might get there a little slower. So this photo here shows a little piece of the wall that wraps around, there's a giant willow tree there. But it essentially looks like that all along the edge. It's just packed boulders. It's steeper in most spots. It starts to flatten out as you head towards Salem Street.
But Greg, when you look at that picture, I'm looking back at the bulkhead and the stairs.
Mhm.
It looks like there's a pretty good pitch on that going down towards the willow tree.
Yeah, so actually in this location, there won't be a wall there. It's a little bit further down that unit where the wall's proposed. Let me see if I have more photos.
Where on that drawing roughly is that picture taken from?
This is a good one showing how it pitches back towards the windows. This is higher here and it's lower here. And at one point in time, the stone probably drained a lot better than it does today. Over the years, it's probably got gummed up and just going to keep going through these photos to see if I have a better one.
So Greg,
So
from
you're
that,
gonna take
from
that
that-
high spot and you're gonna move it, or is that what's gonna happen? So where we just saw that mound in that photo, that's gonna be flattened a little bit?
So we're not going to be cutting anything. We're going to be putting the wall in close to the existing wall and lifting the grade up a little bit. And that'll allow us just to kind of flatten out that area and make the slope uniform back to what it was.
Yeah, so it's gonna be perfectly even till you get to the new wall, right? There's no,
Yeah, it's going to slope subtly away from the buildings. That's the idea. Just get the water away, put the downspouts into a pipe, daylight them closer to the resource area.
what's the erosion control measures you're proposing?
So we wanted to put in a 12-inch diameter mulch sock, just because we've had really good success with those. They bind to the ground. Straw wattles, in our opinion, don't work. Silty water goes right through them. But this is going to be a pretty quick project. The company that's going to do it is going to be in and out of there very quickly. Yeah, this photo might be a good one to show. It kind of shows how the lawn's struggling, but it's tough. If you walked across here, you'd roll your ankle. There's little low spots and nooks and crannies.
So
Yeah, I
you-
can see
you-
that.
So it's not just getting the grading, you just want to take out the ruts and stuff as well as, where the imperfections are in the contours, you want to just smooth it out? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's lawn now. It's going to be lawn post-construction. And it's just to make a more uniform slope.
So,
there's,
so are you gonna overtop the existing grass? Or are you
no,
gonna-
that'll be scraped. That'll be scraped down near where we're putting the wall in, because we have to put in a compact gravel base for the wall. And the existing grass behind the building in that location will be scraped and new loam will be
Okay.
brought in. They're going to remove the grass, bring in more material, rake it out, seed it.
Is it, the top of wall is pretty much uniform as far as elevation, isn't it?
Let me look at the
remember
spot grades. I think they show on my plan here. They're tough to see because they're ghosted. Well, this is the 186 contour. The 186 contour comes out into the lawn and then it goes down into the wall. And then it pretty much follows the top of the wall. So I think, 185.5 to 186.5 is roughly the top of wall, within a foot. And you can see we're just gonna bring the 188 grade back a little bit here.
Mhm.
I
So
have
you're
a question.
basically, you're gonna expose all of the soil throughout the whole length of the wall and the width from the DVW to the house. That's gonna be all scraped out, and then you're gonna do your grading, and then,
No, it's from the wall to the house, not from the BVW to the house, Jimmy.
yeah, I'm sorry, between, yeah, you're right.
Right.
Reference.
And remember too,
I
we're
meant-
gonna be doing
I
little
meant
trenches.
wall.
There's gonna be little trenches through there too to bury the pipes for the downspouts.
And how long a term, I mean, this has the potential to be really, if we get some rain, to make a real mess. So how long do you think this would take?
Oh, this will be done in less than a week. And, the erosion controls will be in place to protect the resource area during
Yeah, I
construction.
know, but.
I have a question. This retaining wall that you have here, if this is going to be the remedial issue for this area, how is it not to say then the other buildings that eventually it's going to do the same thing? Or is it not? Or is
So
it
I'm gonna
pretty
show
much the
you,
same?
good question. And I have a picture behind the other building, and I think you'll see it's much different over there. So the wall actually disappears as you go down towards the, actually, let me go back to this one. This is a pretty good photo showing one of our surveyors. Actually standing roughly where the new wall would be built. It would be in front of his foot here. But you can see how steep the wall is here. And our erosion controls will be placed right along the top here. I just want to show you behind that building you were just asking about. Yeah, here it is here. So this is behind the other building. This isn't a retaining wall at all. This is just a stone wall between the property lines. As you go down this way, see how the wall stops? About a third down the building. And then the grade is just, this is fine. This is in great shape over here. And that's the photo I was just showing.
Greg, how are you anchoring the erosion and sedimentation controls to the top of the wall?
Yeah, so that mulch sock, the beauty of the mulch sock is it doesn't require any anchors, stakes, or anything. Once you get a rainstorm, it's tough to lift that. It's heavy, and it binds to the ground. A lot of people, after the project's over, if this was in the woods, we'd probably propose to just cut it, remove the fabric that's around it, and spread out the mulch. We can't do that in this location. They'll just cut it in sections like a sausage and twist it up and carry it and remove it off site. This erosion control doesn't need any type of anchor.
So it's going to be placed on the rock itself?
Just in front of it, on the grass in front of the rock. Because remember, our
But it looks like you're putting some fill right behind the wall. How
Yeah,
are you gonna?
pretty close to it. But the erosion control will bind, whether it's a rock or grass, whatever it's on top of, nothing's gonna go under that once you get one storm event.
I don't understand, Greg, why you're building up the wall if you're trying to get the water away from the house,
Because right now it's too steep. We have to add material back there to make it uniform and flat. It slopes down
How
to,
can it be too steep? What, the existing lawn is too steep?
yeah, the wall has settled over the years. So when you come off these decks and off these steps, it's a very steep slope down to the wall now. And it wasn't that case when the development was first built. It's sinking. The wall is sinking.
How do you know that?
Just from walking behind the building. I mean, it's grass now. It's going to be grass after the project. It's a buffer zone project. I mean, from our point of view, it needs to be done. It's a pretty minor project. They're not building anything new with the exception of this small wall.
Okay, so how much material you got to bring in then to get this to grade? I mean, a foot?
It varies. It varies.
Well, what, 2 feet?
In spots, sure. You could, this photo, you can see it. I'm gonna pull this photo back.
See, that
So,
doesn't look bad to
see
me.
this here? This entire area has sunk. I don't know if you can see that in the picture. It looks like a sand trap without sand in it. It's just, this whole pocket has sunk. So you come off this step and it's almost, it's almost a 2-to-1 slope here. So we need to put the wall in to pick this grade back up so it's a little flatter when you come down off the step.
Okay, so you don't really have to go all the way back to the house.
No,
So in some.
only for the trenches.
Okay, and. Okay, I was under the, I guess I was thinking that you had to take everything out to get the grade higher at the house. But you're really just filling in the low sections.
That's right. Yep. Let me try to zoom in on this photo. You can kind of see it here. This is the biggest area that's settled, right in here.
Yeah.
This unit in particular, you come right off here and it just rolls down.
So, I mean, that doesn't look as long as the area that you say you're gonna work. I mean, how many feet of wall do you need to put in?
It looks to be about 100 feet.
Okay, well, I mean, you said you're getting water in one of the units. I mean, you must have to get it graded back to the foundation there. Where is that low?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I said, excuse me, that you must have to bring some of them back to the house, change the grade at the house because the guy is getting water in one of the units. I don't know which unit it was.
Well, that's why we're extending the downspouts away from the building. I think getting the roof runoff away from those low points that are right up against the foundation,
Right.
that's probably the culprit with the property owner that was experiencing some flooding in their unit.
Okay, so you think it's really from the roof runoff?
Yeah, I'd say just about every unit behind this building, there's little pockets next to the bulkheads, the AC units, under the deck, where everything's just a little lower than the grass.
Yeah.
And it's it just, I bet the stone used to infiltrate. Now it's just not.
Yeah.
I just ask, why not just extend the downspouts? Why do you have to, again, if the issue is with the water getting too close to the houses, I don't understand why you need to do bringing in the soil and building. I mean, other than to stop that settling, I guess. But it's not to take water away from the house. I mean, extending the downspouts takes care of that. The reason you're putting all that soil in and building that wall is to prevent further depression, right? It has nothing to do with the water near the houses.
Well, there are a few areas that it's going to help get the water away from the units where there's some high points. But in this particular area, in this photo, you're right. It's to make the lawn more usable for the unit owners.
But why do, I guess, again, why do that? You're in a buffer zone. You're gonna, again, I want to hear why you think that's better.
Well, I don't think it's worse for the resource area. I think it's better for the property owner to be able to use their backyard. And at one point in time, they could a lot easier than they can now. It's lawn now, it's going to be lawn post-construction. Impact wise to the resource area, I don't think there is any.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody would be hard pressed to tell me how this is going to impact the wetland.
Would you say, if I said something like 3 or 4 feet, would that be the amount of, would that push the mowing area? Would that eliminate the last 3 or 4 feet of mowing area before the pond?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
If you look at where the grass goes right up to the old wall,
Yep,
The grass will now go right up to the new retaining wall, right?
right.
What is the difference between the, you know,
Oh.
the delta between the, you know, how much grass is going to be eliminated when you, which is, I think, a good thing, actually.
Yeah, it looks like about 1.5 feet.
It's only 1.5 feet, that whole, you know, from the one, from the, that's really only 18 inches, huh? Interesting.
Yeah,
That'll
it looks like it in our detail here. It's
No,
about
no, 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 you're going, go to the other side. I'm sorry. Go to the other, no, go back up to your, go back up to your thing.
Mhm.
Now, on the other side of the new wall, on the house side of the structure side,
Yeah,
is that grass or is that going to be, or is that going to be also gravel or some sort of mulch or, what is that going to be?
grass. It's gonna be grass to the new wall.
Right up to the new wall.
Yep, and the
Hey.
only gravel will be the gravel base under the wall.
And Greg, while you're on this plan, can you show me how you're gonna sequence the erosion and sedimentation controls and then work? Are you gonna put the gravel on? Well, go up to the
Oh,
cross
here?
section, I would say.
Yep,
And because I assume that cross section of the retaining wall that you have there, where on there is that mulch stock gonna go?
yeah, so the way this is drawn, I mean, this shows it, the filter fabric going, you know, really the filter fabric is gonna go up here. And this is just a generic detail.
Mhm.
The erosion controls will go, you know, somewhere in this location.
Mhm.
Yep. They won't be working beyond the erosion controls. And it varies along the entire length, but if you look in plan view, you know, we have the erosion controls shown as the limit of work, and we won't go beyond that limit of work.
Okay, because it seems like you're filling right up to the wall. And I just don't understand how you're gonna put those erosion controls in and then you're gonna fill underneath it?
No, the erosion controls are gonna go in, and there's not gonna be any work on the wetland side of the erosion controls. All of the work will be on the building side of the erosion controls.
No, I understand that. It's just that it looks like you're filling right up to the wall on the, on the development side. I just don't understand. Could you provide a detail on how that's gonna look when you anchor that in? I know the generic details.
So we have a mulch stock detail right here.
Right, but that's just a generic plan on a flat piece of land. I just want to see how it's going to integrate with the wall as you're going to anchor that in right at the top. Is that the plan? Because then it looks like you might not have enough room to do your work with that erosion sedimentation control in this place. So if you go up a little bit to your proposed detail. So
the detail, it's just, this isn't to scale or anything. This is just to show you there's going to be no, I know what your concern is. There's going to be no work beyond the erosion controls. They're going to put the erosion controls in, and any excavation is going to happen on the building side of those erosion controls.
Which is the indicator of the erosion control on your plan? You've got two lines there. One.
It's the line with the black circle.
Okay, so aren't you putting that right on top of the stones?
In some spots, yes.
So how, you really can't anchor it according to that detail. I think that's what Frank is thinking about.
But you don't need to, you've seen mulch stock before, I'm sure. You don't need to anchor it.
We don't like mulch stocks. We like hay bales.
Well, I mean, we'll put hay bales in, but the mulch stock will work so much better here.
Yeah, I'm just saying, depends on the situation.
You know, I mean.
Okay, I mean.
Well,
our goal is to protect
here,
the resource area, and I think the mulch stock is the way to go here. It's more expensive than straw bales.
Yeah.
You know, it works.
Yeah. But I mean,
I
in
just need to get in
notation
the way of the work, sorry.
What was that?
Frank was talking too. I don't know what he wanted to finish saying.
I was just gonna say, I don't see how you're gonna anchor those in between the wall, between the wall and the regraded surface and still maintain those controls, because it seems like you're gonna be doing a little bit of filling in there. If you could just draw, put a very simple sketch together to show, because we're definitely gonna have to continue to the next meeting. If you could just provide a detail on how that's going.
So it's gonna be the same detail.
Yep.
With just this black line up here and a mulch sock on top of it.
Yeah,
That's
But
it.
that
I mean,
But that compacted gravel backfill is new, right?
well, so we have to, if you're building a wall, you have to put it on something that is solid. And
Understood, but-
we can't stack additional stones on top of the existing wall. We just can't do that.
Understood.
So we have to back off from the existing wall so that the load that we're putting here is not on this.
Okay, if you were to, I don't know if you can draw on this, but if you were to draw where that's going to be anchored.
I
So it's
usually
not-
can, but it's
It's not
not,
gonna be anchored. It's gonna be sitting on top of that wall.
yeah. It's,
So
there's
it's
no,
gonna be
there's
on,
no-
it's gonna be on the rock.
Right.
rock, lawn, it's gonna be mostly lawn, in some cases rock. That's the beauty of the mulch sock. Whatever it sits on top of, nothing goes under it.
Right, it'll take shape of whatever it's on.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I'll do on my projects is after it rains, I'll walk along the top of that mulch sock if there's areas I'm concerned with, just to make sure that it's pushed down in any cracks or anything like that. If you really can't do trench silt fence here, because you'd be trying to trench it into rock. And the straw bales, you know, in my opinion, the mulch sock would be better, but if this commission would rather see straw bales,
no, I was just putting that out there because we decide what we're gonna use based on the type of project. So, you know, some projects are better with hay bales than others, and that's all, that was what that statement was about. Nothing, I think it's appropriate what you're doing. I don't see anything.
Yeah, I think our only concern really is the interim potential for sedimentation runoff while the project is being, while the lawn is being reestablished.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a way you could sequence it so that you don't have as much exposed until you get the wall built and then come in and grade, would that be feasible?
well, it's gonna be pretty quick. I mean, in less than a week, they're gonna have this thing done. It would make sense to kind of do it all at once, just to get it over with quick.
Yeah,
But if there is some concern, I mean, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll hydro seed with a tackifier, or after they seed, they'll put down some straw or something over the grass to act as over the seeded area to act as a tackifier. And that helps knock down velocity. And if you get an above average storm event, it helps keep the loam in place so you don't get rillings. But remember too, this is a pretty flat slope that we're creating. So it's not going to be a steep drop off down to the wetland.
And what time of the year were you going to do this?
They want to do it as soon as possible. They want to try to take advantage of, well, we're running out of time, right?
It looks like it. Yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
looking at
and without the DEP file number, it's going to make it extremely difficult. So I suppose it's something we'll have to talk about, unless they put sod in, but I don't know what the plan is. I'll have to get some information for the commission before the next meeting.
I think if we get too late, it might be worth waiting till the spring. I just throwing that out there, but
I don't think the unit owners or the management company wants to have an exposed area for prolonged periods, certainly not through the winter.
right.
So I'll have some more information at the next meeting as far as what their anticipated timeline is, and if they're proposing to do sod or seed or what the deal is. I mean, it'd be nice if they didn't have to do anything, but they do need to fix it.
You have the grade. Do we have an as-built for this area? Do you know
So
Lorraine?
we did an existing conditions plan.
Okay.
We did a new resource area delineation, a new survey, new topo, and the plan that you see here reflects existing conditions.
Okay, I was just wondering what was the top of wall and the grading of that that grassy area when the project was completed.
Oh, good question. I'd be shocked if you had a plan that had that much detail on it. But I don't have an answer to that. I certainly don't have that as-built plan.
And we may have an as-built, this was like 2001 or thereabouts.
And it'd be interesting to know what datum they're on, because it may be even a different datum than the one that we're showing here. I think
yeah,
we're on,
right. It probably is.
I think we're on NAVD 88.
Yeah, that's what you should be on, yeah.
And we may have revised floodplain too, right?
No, there's no floodplain here.
There's no floodplain here? Okay, good.
Yeah, let me just, well, let me just double check that. Yeah, there's no, surprisingly, there's no floodplain associated with Harren Pond. There will be someday.
Well, there is an invert elevation.
Yeah.
Any other questions or requests?
No, I guess not, right? I mean, it
Is
sounds
there
like a
anything you
reasonable.
want to see?
Is the height, is this height of the wall gonna vary throughout this thing though? Are you gonna have some higher than, some more blocks than others to?
Yeah, as it tapers off towards the ends, it'll go down to 1 block, but we've got the top of wall set at 187 for the entire length, which is about 1.5 foot above, you know, 1 foot to 1.5 foot above the existing top of boulder wall that's there now.
Hmm.
You know, I think without the wall, if you just dumped loam there and tried to stabilize it, and you got more settling over the years, you know, you just need to bring it up that 1.5 foot to, you know, 2 feet.
But I don't know.
And the filter fabric that we're putting down below the gravel base should help any settling below that new wall.
Shouldn't it be done settling? It's been how many years?
Well, it sounds like about 20.
So I mean, because otherwise you're putting the wall in the area that's settling. And if you don't know why it's settling, it's just gonna keep
And
going.
that was the problem, right? To figure out if it's done settling or why it's settling, that's a huge undertaking. You know, and now you're talking about dismantling that
Yeah.
wall along Harren
I'd
Pond.
be interested in, I think we have as-built of that, and I bet you we do have a top of wall elevation for the existing. I'm gonna have Elaine look at the records and I'd be just curious to see how much it's really settled. If we are able to get that information.
So what you're not going to see is all the pits and mounds when you walk behind that.
I know, it sounds to me like you're trying to smooth it out and just regrade it.
Yeah,
Yes.
for the most part.
So,
Yep.
I mean, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just the proximity to the wetland and the, you know, the chances we're taking that we're not gonna get heavy rain and make a real mess. I mean,
Well, a lot of times what, you know, what a lot of commissions do is they just require a monitor if there is a predicted above average storm event or anything over a ½ inch within 24 hours,
yeah,
where they go out during or after, and there's emergency erosion controls on site. So if there is an issue, it can just be addressed right away. And where this is going to be, you know, about a week to complete.
yeah,
You might have one, you might have none.
yeah, right,
But just to have that required in the order may make sense here.
all right.
Any other questions or comments?
I think I understand what he's doing now.
All right, are there any requirements we want to come back with in 2 weeks, October 14th? Yeah, next meeting, I believe. Yeah, so is there anything we're looking for drawing wise or?
I'm going to fix our detail.
Right,
Yeah, like I said, I want to just ask Elaine if she can, because Elaine knows this project very well. We both were out there while things were happening. And she might remember, or she might know where to find something.
Yeah, okay, I'll look through the files for the as-built plan and get the elevations.
Yeah.
are there any questions or comments from the public?
Okay.
All right,
If you're in the
So-
area too, you know, it might make sense just to pop in and take a quick peek. It won't take you long to just kind of see what we're trying to describe in those photos.
That's not a bad idea. We could do that where we got 2 weeks for the next meeting.
If you want me to meet you out there, I'm happy to do it. Just, I think the office has my email
And I'd be happy as well. This is Steve Mangano, the property manager, to meet any of the commission there at any point in time.
Do you want to set up a sidewalk?
Pardon me?
I was talking to the commission.
Oh, sorry.
Maybe they want to set up a sidewalk. I'd be interested in doing it. I will make it out there. If I can just go out there, should I contact you or can I just walk out back or what?
Jim, if you plan to go out there over the weekend, I'm happy to join you.
Yeah. Yeah, just I'd like to see what it's all about.
Do you want to set a time?
Um,
Sorry, Ken, you would say something, Ken?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to be able to know where that wall is when you're out there. So I don't know if it's staked out or Jimmy to have a plan and pace it off.
Yeah.
And let me know when the walk will be. I'll try to join you.
I would be more than happy to meet you out there this weekend if you wanted.
Okay, great. Teresa, why don't you pick a time?
Okay, unfortunately, I'm busy on Saturday morning, but Sunday morning is good. That's convenient for other folks. Say at 8 o'clock.
Okay. 8 o'clock Sunday morning?
Is that okay with you, Jim? I'm sorry, and Steve, is that okay with you?
That's fine. I'll meet you there.
Ken, can you do that?
I have to run it by air traffic control. I'm not sure what's the plan for the weekend.
8 o'clock Sunday?
Yes.
Oh, Peter, this is.
We can do it.
Okay, that's it. 8 o'clock Sunday, done. Right? Going once, going twice?
So we'll meet you. Is there a place we can park in the development, or can we just park? I'm just trying to think. Can't really park on the street over there.
But there's a community building we can go in there and talk if we needed to.
No, I mean to park, not to talk.
Oh, to park?
Yeah.
There's guest, so right, as soon as you pull in on the left-hand side, there's guest parking
Okay,
space.
thank you. Excuse my accent.
Yeah,
Park.
not a problem.
Anything else? All right, then we'll move on.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is DEP 313608. That's 200 to 400 Quinnipiac Parkway. And before we get into that, I will say that Lake Street, DEP 313607 is continued until October 14th. And that was scheduled for 8 o'clock tonight, so that is continued. Lake Street is continued. So again, DEP 313608, 200 to 400 Quinnipiac Parkway. And Ken is recusing himself for this hearing. Okay. Ready to start? The applicant here?
Hi there, my name is Mitch Maslanka. I'm a wetland scientist with Goddard Consulting, representing the applicant, CCF Quinnipiac Parkway Company LLC tonight. So I was here before the commission 2 weeks ago to discuss riverfront area standards. And we had a very constructive conversation about redevelopment standards. And then you requested that I provide new development standards and how the project will meet those as well. I'm still working through those. It's going to be quite a lengthy document. So what I'm going to do is submit that to you guys and ask that you review that when I send it in, and perhaps just do a question and answers dialogue for the next hearing rather than go through each performance standard at the meeting, because I anticipate that would take a very long time. So if that's amenable to the commission, that would be ideal. For tonight, we are going to discuss the bordering vegetated wetlands on the site and the buffer zone impacts that the project is proposing. So if I may share my screen, that would be ideal.
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome.
Can I ask you a question? Hello?
Yep.
Is this owner the same owner for 50 Quantified Parkway? Does he own both parcels, or 200 Quantified and 50 Quantified?
I am not aware.
Hi, sorry, I was on mute. Thought I was unmuted here. No, we are not the same applicant. Two
I'm
completely
sorry.
separate holdings.
Okay. And so why do you have the BBW line going across 100 Quantified Parkway into 50 Quantified Parkway?
Are you referring to the purple line?
I'm referring to the BBW line. It might be purple, I don't know. On my plan, it's just, wow.
I can't necessarily speak to how the data was represented on the wetland sheet, but we don't actually own any of the properties here. We're an applicant on behalf of 200, 400 Quantified.
Right.
That's it.
But that line really doesn't belong on there as part of this project, correct?
Anything off the property would not belong. That's correct.
Okay, so we should get that removed from the drawing.
Which line are you talking about? Is it on this? Can we see it on this screen here?
Let me see, let me get the drawing. On sheet, well, existing conditions plan, sheet 1. You got the BBW line going behind 100 Quantified Parkway, and then it goes into 50 Quantified Parkway.
Yeah, I think those were just shown on the plan more to show some of the utilities that eventually connect onto the site. So that area was delineated as well.
Can you use the pointer to show what you're talking about?
I think he's referring to some wetlands that may have been delineated along the back of this building.
Okay.
On the back of that building, it goes all the way down to North Ave. Well, it heads in that direction anyways.
But Jim, if the wet, if the
I'm just
BBW
asking why it's on there if it's not really relevant.
is it 100, if you go 100 feet, do you get to the property line?
I don't know.
Yes, but we also have wetlands on site. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
think, let me see if I have that same sheet that I could just.
Looks like existing conditions plan, sheet 1, Jim. That's what you're talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah, it does. It shows a lot of wetland and BVW all the way, I guess it would be all the way south down Quantified Parkway to North Ave.
Yeah, right here are wetland flags, right here are wetland flags.
Yeah,
So
but
it was
further-
all delineated, but that's not going to be relevant to this site in particular now. So
I mean, even further, it continues on to the left of there on your existing conditions plan.
Yeah.
Sheet 1.
I think that was more to show some of these utility lines underneath the roadway, just to know where all those are coming from and where they're eventually going to connect into the site. I think that's why those.
It's got nothing to do with the utility lines. It's in the back of the property. You're not showing the right area of the drawing. If you go more to the left.
I mean, there are wetland flags shown on 50 Quantified. I mean, we can't accept a plan that has wetland flags on, a different property.
Okay, we could, I'll talk with Nick and see if he's okay with removing some sheets from the plan, or you can put some condition in the order conditions saying you're only going to be approving the wetland lines on the site.
We'd rather have it off the plan. It's kind of misleading.
Okay, yeah, I'll talk with Nick, see if he's okay with that.
I apologize. What's the sheet number that we're referring to here?
Sheet
Is it
one.
EC01?
Sheet one.
Sheet one.
Sheet one, existing conditions.
Exactly right.
Yeah, I didn't have it in my presentation tonight, so I can't show it.
Can I mean, just for the sake of this conversation, do you mind if I just bring that up really quickly?
Yeah,
So you guys, let's see. I think it is this one. So this is, let me just, so if you look down here, I don't know why this is jumping, but
It's on, it's right
can you
there.
guys read it?
Yeah, we can see it.
So this is the other project that was in front of us not long ago, 50 Quantipower Parkway. I mean, it looks like the site isn't even on this plan at all. I mean, I think you can delete this plan entirely.
Yeah, I think it's totally extraneous. There's no reason why we need to have it on here. I think, you know, just as the only reason it would have ever come up is these sites were all created together, and you know, Beal had a survey that was originally based off of, and as Mitch mentioned, for other purposes, it's relevant to have the utilities, but obviously for these purposes, there's no relevance to those sheets.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
we can remove those.
I just wanted to help Jim make his point there.
Thank you.
so yeah, thanks for bringing that to our attention. So I'll share my screen with the site that we're going to talk about.
Mitch, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure why, for some reason at this Wakefield Concom Zoom meetings, they make me hit an extra tab telling myself that I need to be able to speak while I share the screen. So, all right. So this is our site, 200 to 400 Quantipower Parkway, within the red lines here. That's our property boundary. So you've all seen the site plan before. Off to the right side is an extensive BVW system bordering vegetated wetlands. That's not shown entirely on the plan because no development is proposed there. That's going to be conservation land at some point. So this green line is our BVW boundary right here. And this bottom green line here, that's the bank of Lake Quantipower with some BVW within there. This along the very edge of the pond. And over here, our wetland boundary emerges again over here. So this is wetlands, and this is wetlands up to the river's edge. This is the perennial river that flows partially on site and off site into Quantipower. In the back of the site, we have wetlands here. This whole undisturbed area is all bordering vegetated wetlands. And then back here in this back stretch, there's a drainage ditch that starts about here and flows this way towards the larger BVW. And there's BVW off of that intermittent stream / drainage ditch. So off of the wetland boundaries, we have a 100-foot buffer zone shown in blue.
Can anyone else see, your pointer is not showing up on this scene? Is it, are you using a pointer, Mitch?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
not
see
seeing
it.
it.
Yeah, now we got
I
it.
don't see anything.
Yeah, there it goes.
Okay.
Um,
Geez, could you not see that for any of what I was saying?
No,
Correct.
not at all.
Oh, boy.
I gave you the courtesy of letting you know that. Oh, my.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Do you want me to go over that again, or are you
No.
guys fine with the
Understood what
wetland
you're
boundary?
talking about. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
with you.
Okay. All right. I'll move on to the buffer zone. So this dark blue buffer line is our 100-foot buffer zone. So the land between this blue line and the green line is what we're going to be talking today about, because there's no BVW impacts beyond the green lines up here. It's all between the green line and the blue line, the 100-foot buffer zone. So as you can see right now, extensive portions of our buffer zone are parking lot areas, islands, landscape islands, and Quantapowhat Parkway, which goes along this way and off-site. So there's a lot of degraded surface within the buffer zone at the moment. I have some stats here. So within the 0 to 25-foot buffer zone, which is this light blue line, that's the 25-foot buffer zone off of the wetlands, there is 3,000 square feet of degraded surface. So that includes this little portion of Quantapowhat Parkway here, Quantapowhat Parkway here, parking spaces here, more portions of Quantapowhat Parkway over here and over here. And within the 25-foot to 100-foot buffer zone, we have 1,000 square feet of degraded surfaces, which doesn't actually sound right. So don't take my word on that one. But regardless, there is quite a considerable amount of degraded surfaces within the buffer zone at the moment, and the proposed project is proposing to reduce those degraded surfaces within the 100-foot buffer zones. Other work proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone are the proposed building structures, which portions of the buildings are going to be up in this area right here. So within this landscaped island, there's going to be a building footprint here, and the reconfiguration of the parking lots here are going to result in landscaped island here, but some impervious surface here from the building. Over here, there's a similar instance with the parking lots to the right of the screen, where these landscaped islands will be reconfigured so that there's less degraded surfaces that be in the parking lot and more landscaped islands and vegetation, impervious surfaces. So I'm going to scroll down. This is our proposed plan, so you can see more clearly what is going on with our proposed buffer zone. So like I said, building here, reconfiguration of the parking lot so that there's more green space here, building footprint sneaking into the 100-foot buffer zone here. And then in these areas where there's lawn space and lawn space here and lawn space on the outside of Quantapowhat Parkway, those are going to be proposed to become our wet basins to manage our stormwater runoff from Quantapowhat Parkway. So runoff is going to flow from the parkway into our best management practices, that being the wet basin, to manage stormwater before it reaches the BVW. At the moment, runoff currently goes from the parkway down swales, some of them paved swales, some of them just sediment trails, and water flows from the parkway to the wetlands. Now, over here, I inspected the site today to be able to comment on some questions you guys had last meeting about the swales that were bringing sediment towards the wetlands. So I took my auger out and I poked around at the bottom of a swale. Might be better to show this one. There's a swale here that's paved that takes the stormwater and brings it right of what seemed like close to the BVW edge. But when I put my auger in the ground and dug some test pits, I discovered that the paved swale actually extended into the BVW and was filled with 6 to 8 inches of sediment. So over the years, this the stormwater has taken sediment from the Parkway and parking lots and landscaped islands and has flowed down those swales and has filled in the end part of those swales. Same instance over here. This was paved basically right up to the wetlands. But right now, you wouldn't know that without just digging a test pit. For these other areas, I didn't pick up on any asphalt swales here, 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 or here. It was just dug ditches, basically, that carry the stormwater into the wetlands in all these shaded areas. So you had asked if any remediation or restoration of the wetlands would be necessary after all those years of sediment being brought in there. And after checking out the site, I would recommend that no restoration be done. The vegetation is quite dense and honestly thriving in those areas. The biggest concern would honestly be the transport of that sediment and the nutrients to the surface water that collects in the wetlands and eventually makes it to that intermittent stream, ditch, and then eventually over to here. So what would stop that is by our stormwater management infrastructure proposal to turn these areas more into wet basins than swales, bringing our sediments and nutrients right into the wetlands. So I'll go back to this one. So here is our site plan showing our proposed limit of work. As you can see down here, we have silt fence and core logs proposed from here along the wetland boundary and going just outside the wetland boundary here and extending all the way around the site. That's that dark black line. That's our silt fence and core log for erosion control during construction so that there's no sedimentation getting into the wetlands. This is silt fence and core log as well. And we also have these straw bale check dams at the curb cuts where I had referenced where all those swales were bringing sediment in. We're proposing straw bale check dams so that the sediment and or so the water can hit these check dams and sediment has a chance to dissipate and not flow into the wetlands anymore or even hit our erosion control. That's why those check dams are going to be there. So we're really taking it seriously with the erosion control, making sure that no sediment makes it to the wetlands, especially in these areas where we're going to be working up to the boundary so that we can make those wet basins. The wet basins are shown on this plan right here. This is our existing conditions, my bad. So here we are showing our wet basins. So within the buffer zone, we're going to have these wet basins where stormwater is going to flow off Quannapowitt Parkway into these vegetated filter strips and stone diaphragms, and eventually into the basin itself, where the water will be detained and sediments can settle within these areas rather than sediment just flowing directly towards the BVW. So these wet basins are going to be a significant improvement to the buffer zone of the BVW and to the BVW itself so that nutrient loads are reduced by this. So this is one wet basin here. We have another wet basin over here where there was a break in the curb cut where that paved swale was taking sediment directly into the wetland. So that's a wet basin. Here's another portion of that wet basin here. This right here is going to be another wet basin. Continuing over here as well. And then on the next sheet, it shows the other side of the plan. So down here, we have a wet basin and wet basin here and wet basin here. So grading is going to need to occur close to the BVW boundary, but in the end, that's going to be improvement to the buffer zone there, because instead of water flowing off into these areas, the water is going to settle within those wet basins and not bring any sediment or nutrients into the BVW anymore. So the grading is necessary. The wet basins are going to be a big improvement. So that's the main portion of our work within the buffer zone, is doing that. And there's even some depressions in our landscaped islands that are going to be collecting whatever water is draining out of these subsurface infiltration basins that are going to be treating the stormwater from the roadway in the middle of the site and directing stormwater into these tinier basins in our landscaped islands, which are within our 100-foot buffer zone. So that's why I'm noting that. As for the area closest to the lake, there's not much work that is going to be done within the buffer zone as far as grading goes or impervious surfaces go. As you can see, there's just some minor grading here to make room for infiltration basins that are going to be here and here outside of the buffer zone. Most of the buffer zone here is on town property. We are proposing invasive species control up along the edge of the pond where natural vegetation is right now, right along here. So that is going to be an improvement to our buffer zone as well, removing those invasive species, creating more natural habitat for native species. So that concludes my discussion on the wetlands and our impacts to the wetlands. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask.
I have some questions for you. Your plan shows at the perennial stream, it crosses under Route 128, correct?
That is Route 95, I believe.
All right, 95.
Yep, right here.
I know it is 128, but so you have an invert elevation there of 76.58 according to your plan. And where Quantico Parkway is, at that culvert that goes to the lake, you have an invert elevation of 79.9. And you have one other elevation on here over by north, on the north end of the project. There's a 24-inch reinforced concrete pipe, which has an invert elevation of 80.32, which also crosses under the highway. How is this section functioning? Because which direction is the water flowing in, or does it flow in both directions? Because the invert elevation at the lake is higher than at the highway. And if you look on your drainage study, you don't extend your drainage area under 128, which is hydraulically connected through that pipe.
So could you clarify which culvert you're talking about? Are you talking about this one here?
Where, you got your pointer there somewhere?
Yeah, it's in the bottom left-hand corner, Jim.
I'm talking, let me tell you what plan I'm on. I'm on sheet 2 of existing conditions. Is that what that is?
No, this is not
Can you
existing.
pull up sheet 2 of existing conditions?
Okay. Yeah, give me a second here.
Okay, it's gonna be really hard to see this. Because none of these plans show contours that I can see or this, and also I think we're very deficient in elevations. You need some plan here that's got elevations, which I don't see. But if you could go back to that drawing, sheet 2, I can point out where so if you look at the intersection of Corner Powell Parkway, right down in that area, if you expand on that, there's a contour down there, or there's an invert elevation that's down there. And this is the part of the problem. You can't read your plans. So I mean, I can't see it even on this, so maybe you're not gonna be able to make it work, but that's what you have for an elevation. At that location, it's 79.9, which is higher than at the 95 highway. So that would kind of imply that the water is flowing out of Lake Quannapowitt. And if it does
Mitch,
go
you're
under the
muted.
highway, which I don't know, then that should be part of your drainage area, which I didn't see. You also, if you could push that down again so that you can see where it goes under 120/95 or one. I can't read that. I don't know if you can read that.
Well, what is the direction of flow? I thought it was flowing into the lake.
Well, I don't know. That's what's confusing me because, and if you go, can you zoom out on that?
Mitch, you're on, it looks like you're trying to talk, but you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I gotta just hit that button again. Okay, so when I was at the site today, there really isn't much flow going on. The river isn't flowing much. It's pretty stagnant water, especially under this bridge. So right now it's difficult to tell where the flow is going, but from what I've seen, the flow is going into Lake Quannapowitt.
Well, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it could be going into Lake Quannapowitt. But where's your drawing that shows your drainage areas? You had it all broken up. Was that in the? I don't have that.
Jim, did you see elevations that show the outflow end being higher?
At the lake, it's higher than at 95.
So I wonder if there was settling at the other end of the pipe. If it's actually dropped.
Wait a minute, I've got the map right here that shows the drainage study where they're dividing up the water.
Jimmy, if it helps, I just pulled them up and I circled the invert elevations you're talking about. I'm not sure if it's Zoom or if it's the plans that are being used. Do you want me to give it a shot? Because I think I know what you're talking about.
You want to share the screen?
Yeah, let me just show you what Jim's talking about.
Yep.
And let's see if this works. Can you see that in any better detail?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can see it. It's got, yeah, you can see it. Wow, that's a lot clearer.
All right, so invert. Culvert invert 80.6.
Where do you see that?
This is 80.6 right here.
Right.
Right, but at the other end, it's 79.9.
Yeah, again, even midway, I have 82.16 here and 81.96 here.
Well, that's not, I'm talking about where it crosses Quantified Parkway, both ends of that culvert. But then if you go all the way up to 95, you'll see right up at the top corner, top right-hand corner, that's the culvert. It gives you 76 point something.
Yeah, 76.58.
Right. Now, if you go further north with the drawing, you're gonna see there's a 24-inch pipe that I think goes under the highway as well.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, 80.32. So it almost looks like everything is heading towards 95. Because that culvert, you can walk that culvert heading south and you can see where it turns into a bigger kind of a channel. But I don't know how this thing is all connected. I don't know how this perennial stream connects. I think it connects back around to the lake, and I don't know how you address something like that with your plan that shows your drainage area, existing watershed plan.
So if I could share the screen one more time, I could show you stream stats, which shows the watershed coming all from above Route 28. Just give me a second. I'll share my screen. Okay, can you see this here?
Yes.
Yep, so this is the stream stats report for the site. So this is where all the water in Reading basically goes, and portions of Wakefield. It all eventually makes it down to our site where that river is. So this is the watershed.
Okay, so so you're telling me that water is draining into Quantipower,
That's correct, yep.
even though the inverts are not showing that?
Correct, yeah. I don't know why the inverts are showing it that way. I don't know if Nick is on, maybe to comment on that, but.
Well, that seemed to me is something that needs to be investigated. Because I don't know how it works either. And I thought it looped around and went back into the lake at a lower elevation.
Okay, so yeah, I'll follow up with Nick and see if he has any comments on that. Perhaps there's enough flow through the wet seasons where water, even though the inverts don't show it, water has enough velocity to take its way up gradient in some circumstances. And
It has no velocity in that area. If you were
On the
out,
right,
you must have seen it.
right now, it probably doesn't.
No, I've never seen it really. A lot of velocity there, but I have another question for you. You have these Form 11 soil suitability assessments.
sorry, can you say that again?
You have this Form 11, it's soil suitability assessments for on-site sewage disposal. What is that about?
That's out of my purview. I don't know what exactly that would be about.
In the drainage report.
Well, you did a lot. Could you, the other thing is you had like, I don't know how many test pits you did, but you did them after these plans were, so there's no revisions on these plans to show the test pit locations. Can you put them on the plan?
Sure. Yeah, we'll add those to the plan.
And could you also add some elevations? Because you can't read your numbers, they're so small.
Sure.
The other thing I was thinking about was the proximity that you want to work to the BVW. You want to work at basically zero line, right, where the BVW starts. And we typically have a 25-foot no disturb area there. And I think we would probably want to keep that. I don't think that's a area that we would not think should be left alone. And there's a few areas like that that should be considered areas that we need to get more clearance.
So that's a great concern. But the thing is with the wet basins, they're going to improve the drainage from Quannapow Parkway. That's why we're working.
I don't understand how these wet basins work. I'd like to see a profile of them, or tell me exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it and how it relates to the water table. And there's no elevations on your plans to even check this stuff out. So I have no way to decipher it. I'm trying to learn what's going on here.
Sure. So I'll pull up the site plan real quick and I'll go over what the wet basins are.
I definitely think there should be no, even the state says the closer you get to the wetland line, the more chance of an alteration. And I don't see you really talking about, other than flood control, any of the standards that we would, like, you don't address wildlife at all. And you need to provide something to us to.
I think the premise is that these wet basins are not disturbances, where I think we have a fundamental difference there. I think we are considering the wet basins a disturbance of the 25-foot no disturb zone.
Well, why isn't it?
If I'm looking at this correctly, we are putting some of the basins within that 25-foot no disturb zone, correct?
Well,
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think they belong in the, they should not be going right up to the edge of the wetland. There's a chance of an alteration at that distance is like 100%. So unless you can show us why it's not going to be detrimental to the wetland, you shouldn't be working there.
So there's a few things that I can address. So first, with our erosion controls implemented, construction is not going to result in impacts to the wetlands because the silt fence and the quarry logs are going to prevent any sediment from getting into the wetlands. As for BVW buffer zone impact within the 25-foot, those areas are all lawn areas where there's not any wildlife habitat available. So it's not like us grading down a few feet and adding native plants are gonna negatively impact the wetland, the wildlife habitat.
Just because there is only grass there doesn't mean there's wildlife there. And so you can't just dismiss it as saying it's only grass, don't worry about it, because you don't know what's living out there and how they live. They may live in the grass. And
Well, it's regularly maintained lawn. So
So
since
what-
lawn is mowed, once a week, there's not much sheltering habitat.
Well,
Foraging is
that's an argument
negligible.
that you can give as far as why you overcome that burden of proof. Not just telling me that, I would like to see something in writing, explain to me how you came to that conclusion.
I could, write something up for you, but for impact within BVW buffer zones, there's no performance standards that even
Right.
mention.
But the regulations say that proposed or undertaken within 100 feet of a specified area, which is 310.10.02, hereinafter called the buffer zone, which in the judgment of the issuing authority will alter an area subject to protection under the regulations, is subject to regulation, to regulation. So, I mean, we are allowed to, just because you're not in the BVW doesn't mean that you couldn't possibly alter a wetland. And we are allowed to regulate that.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you. So perhaps it might be best if I tell you what the wet basin is and how it's going to be better than the lawn.
I am
So-
interested. I would like to see how that works.
Yep. So these wet basins, if you see my screen, so that, we have wet basins proposed in all these lawn areas. So what that's going to entail is grading down several feet so that we create these ponding areas so that water will flow into these ponding areas and sediment will be able to settle over time while the water is detained in those basins that we create. And within those basins, we're also going to have native vegetation that is going to grow up to its full maturity, unless there are operation and maintenance tasks that need to be accomplished. So instead of lawn, they're going to be native plant species that are going to improve wildlife habitat. So while you may be concerned about some lawn being graded in and destroyed, it's going to end up being better because there's going to be native plants, there's going to be some ponding areas that can benefit other types of wildlife. There's wet basins that are constructed on other sites that put fish inside their wet basins. So we could discuss that as an option with the applicant, see if he's willing to put in some fish into the wet basins. So overall, the wet basins are going to be an improvement over the existing lawn,
All right,
both for wildlife and for
can you draw a
nutrient.
section? Can you draw a section through one of these wet basins? And what I'm trying to do is relate the groundwater elevation with the elevation of the water that's going to be in this wet basin. I'm assuming that there's water in the wet basin all the time. So are you in the water table?
Yes, yeah, that's the plan.
So
Groundwater, we're going to be grading down to groundwater, below groundwater.
you're going to what?
We're going to be grading the basins down
Below
to-
the groundwater.
to the groundwater elevation or below.
Okay, and so these are going to retain water?
Correct.
And so how does the water get out of there if the only place the water can percolate out is through the sides of the basin?
Yep, so there's this emergency spillway for instances where water levels rise during extreme rain events. Water will spill over.
I
Okay,
have a question. How many
Yep.
basins in total in this project do you have? From your pointing, I don't have a project file in front of me. I'm sorry about that. But from what you were pointing, I only see 7. How many are in total for this magnitude of project that you're doing?
So I think only 3 are technically proposed, but wherever grading is connecting these areas, that's also considered part of the wet basin. Like this entire strip here has been labeled wet basin 2, even though the deepest grading that's going to occur is right here.
I don't have a pointer going here. I can't see where you're pointing.
Upper left corner, Jim. the small
Oh,
triangular.
Yeah, I see it. Okay.
Hard
So
to
this is
see.
all considered one wet basin. Even this is called wet basin number 2.
You're comparing that to grass, which, I'll tell you, it is an improvement over grass, but the finished condition would be that there'd be a vegetated strip there. We would allow the native plants to come in and have a 25-foot buffer, which is the intent of our policy. And that theoretically would be placed outside of that 25-foot no disturb. And you would get, the additional benefit, obviously, of that additional habitat and all the benefits that you speak of. So I don't understand why, how you're disturbing the no disturb zone, the 25-foot no disturb zone.
Well, so our runoff from our buildings proposed is all going to be taken to these underground infiltration chambers here and elsewhere on site. Other spots are going to have bioretention areas. So we're capturing and treating stormwater throughout the whole entire site. It's the wet basins are going to be there to control the stormwater from Quannapowitt Parkway, which we can't add any more underground infiltration systems because, like right over here, it's not shown on this plan, but there's underground utilities that go through here. So in order to treat the stormwater from the road, we have to go into the 20-foot no disturb zone, which is your policy. However, going into that 20-foot zone, we see as an improvement within that 20-foot zone.
I disagree with that. I think you're putting an engineering control within our no disturb zone. Granted, there are some benefits, but you're losing the 25-foot buffer. So, I mean, we could move that to the other side of the road theoretically, or find a different place for it, or make it longer. I'm not sure exactly what the solution would be, but it doesn't seem like we have a lot of, it looks like most of it is outside of the no disturb zone. I don't know if the rest of the commission agrees, but I think, that's my opinion.
Okay. What is a bioretention area? Why is that different from a wet basin? And have you built these wet basins anywhere? And how do you check the performance? How do we know that they're going to even work?
So that's more of a question for Nick. He's the engineer who designed the this bioretention area, which is this X right here. So I couldn't answer how that one works.
Well, maybe you can ask.
I apologize. This is Matt Tamika from Cabot Cabin Forbes here. Just in terms of agenda setting, Alan and Major was not available tonight. We have a stormwater management meeting that we set up on the agenda, and I'd be happy to have them, go into detail on all of this at that meeting. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions that it would be most suitable for them to answer regarding the stormwater management system for this site.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, yeah. It's about all I have for questions right this moment. I have to tell you that I don't agree with your riverfront assessment, and I just want to put that out there. Also,
Particularly what part?
I don't believe that you should be in the first 100 feet of the degraded wetland. I think that should be revegetated up to 100 feet. I don't think these retention areas even belong in the 100-foot, area. I think they should be outside of that.
So yeah, my new development report is coming out soon. So I'll explain that in great detail, why that is an allowed use within the 100-foot zone.
There's a lot of allowed uses, but it also says it may be allowed by the by the commission. So I don't think it's a given that you're gonna have it just because it says it can be done.
I'm pretty sure it says it is an allowable use.
Yes, it does say it's an allowable use, but it's allowable within our jurisdiction. If we allow it, it's allowable. I think,
Maybe some of these conversations might be better off pushed to the next meeting. I know I talked to Rebecca earlier today. I believe we're in the process of pulling in a consultant to help us through some of these issues.
yes, and Elaine has all the information on that, I believe, so we should talk about that right now. Elaine, are you with us still?
I am, and I spoke with Rebecca about it, and we both agree on BSC. BSC has done a lot of riverfront work. We find their name frequently in the DEP final orders of conditions. So they do have experience on riverfront issues. I called them this afternoon and spoke with someone there. I explained briefly what the overall concept and issues were. And she said that they would be happy to accept a peer review if the commission should vote it. She said, if that were the case, please send me the information. Once I take a look at the filing, I'll be able to put together a price quote for you. So they're ready to go, and they are the recommended firm from both Rebecca and me.
Elaine, what's the full name of the company?
Oh, I don't know. We just call it BSC. I'm not even sure if it has another name other than the initials.
Well, we had to put together a scope of what we're looking for from them, so.
Yes, yes. So the question is, how much of this you want them to review, whether you just want them to do the riverfront, and the buffer zone. I spoke with Bill Renault last week and asked him how he felt about the having a peer review of the stormwater. He said that he'd been working with the applicants for quite some time now, and he felt that his review covered a lot of the stormwater issues. And he said that he would prepare a review from the engineering department for you. And since stormwater seems to be what's next on the agenda for the hearing, I will have that for you, or he will have that for you by the next meeting.
If we had this with other consultants where, you know, we ask them to recommend what will be an appropriate scope of review. I mean, this kind of goes back to, you know, I mean, I guess we can tell them exactly what things we want them to look for, or we can use them based on their experience. What are the things that we ought to be, you know, I in some ways, I wouldn't mind hearing what they would recommend would be an appropriate, you know, what would be an appropriate, what did you call it, scope of work?
Maybe,
Well, first,
can I
that's
say something? Maybe if they look at what we're dealing with, they might be able to answer that for us.
I just wanted them to see what we're dealing with and you know, and understanding what their capabilities are.
Right, right.
And what the sensitivities are. What are the things that they can do?
Right. Now,
You know,
one other thing I just want to say, as far as the stormwater goes, I understand that Bill would be looking towards, you know, the system working, but I'm concerned more about whether it works within the guidelines of the Wetlands Protection Act. So I don't know that we wouldn't still need some type of review to go along with Bill's, you know, review. I think we should keep that in the back of our mind.
I agree with that. I mean, you know, I mean, I think we should try to reach our decisions independently.
Yeah. So, and Elaine, anything else?
No, they're ready to go, and it's really your choice as to how much of this project you want them to review. I could also send them, clearly I would send them the stormwater report, the notice of intent and the plans and anything else that may have been submitted. I could also send them Bill Renault's review, so they would have that if you wanted, or
Does he have
not
it
send them
done?
Bill Renault's review if you don't.
Does he have it done?
Yeah.
Last time I spoke with him, he was just about complete with it. So I can get a final, a final date on it from him tomorrow.
Okay, because I mean, we would want to keep this rolling and, you know, I mean, if it's something that is not even halfway through, that might be an issue. All right, I think you should do just what you said, I think.
Which is, I just want to make sure I've got it right.
Send everything that you have, basically send everything you have to this consultant and
You know what? I just got cut off from Jim. My question is, does that include a review from Bill Renault or not?
yes, but yes, it would include his review. I just don't know if it's, you know, if it's done. I mean, don't hold it up because it's not ready. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, yep. All right, so I will talk to him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I will see when he's ready to go. I will put together a package for BSC. They'll give me a scope of work.
Yeah.
And
then the price for this,
and the price.
how do we handle the cost for this?
Generally, the applicant pays for the peer review.
Right, the applicant, we have our regulation.
I know, but do they have to agree to this? Do you have to get permission or what do you have to, is there anything that, I don't know what the.
No, they don't have to agree to it. You already voted on the policy.
Okay. All right, then I think that's the way we should go.
So we should have a vote then
Yeah.
to retain BSC. Interested to answer your question, BSC, I don't know what the initials stand for, but they are headquartered Summer Street, Boston, with a number of Massachusetts locations. They also are in Manchester, New Hampshire, and Glastonbury, Connecticut.
And the idea is that you're gonna send them everything and say, we want you to review everything. Is that about right?
Well, maybe in the end, probably is. What, do you have a cat there?
I do have two.
Okay, well. I just want to make sure, like, some of the stuff, this soil suitability assessment, maybe there's some things that you're gonna get for us, right? Some information.
Yep. Yes, I got a list of all the comments and things that
Could we
we'll
just
be
go over
addressing.
Could we go over the list and see what you have? See if there's anything else that wants to be added.
So do we need to vote on?
Yes, we do need to make a vote.
All right, let's do that.
BSC, so-
Wait, I'm sorry, can I interrupt here? Before you take the vote, my question is this. If I'm going to send this information to BSC, do you want me to wait until the information that you have requested comes in and then send it? Or do you want me to send it before that information with the idea that maybe we'll send it later? I just want some clarity on this.
We have to get it started, Elaine.
I can't, I'm sorry, what? Teresa?
Send it before we get the additional information.
Okay, all right. So send it now.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so somebody like to make a motion?
Come on, someone.
Should, okay.
We have a lawyer here, I think should have something
I'm sorry.
he can say.
I make a motion that we should retain BSC to review this filing for us.
Okay.
Wait a
Well,
second.
should we make them, are we making a motion to retain them, or are we making a motion to get a, to work with them to put together a proposal for our consideration and acceptance?
Good question.
I don't know. I just want to know, I mean, do we want to,
I think, Peter, that makes sense. We could get something back that says maybe they aren't the right group for us.
I mean, the point is they're going to have an engagement letter with us, and we want to help them to figure out what the scope of the engagement's going to be. They're going to put together an engagement letter, we'll review it, and then when we accept it and sign it.
So you're right. Pete, it should be asking them to put together an engagement letter. How's that?
Yeah, to work with them, that's right, to just work with them and to negotiate an engagement letter for our consideration and acceptance.
So is that the motion?
I make that motion. Or I mean, it was Teresa's motion, I'm sorry. I didn't mean-
It was modified.
Modified by you, Peter.
Okay,
So do we have a second?
Peter, you second it. I'll
Peter made the
second.
motion.
I second. it.
Second. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Jimmy second.
All right, Savannah, I heard you.
Yes.
Peter,
yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and I also vote to that motion. Okay,
Okay, so that's a scope of work letter and a price quote you're looking for. Is that right?
Sounds right.
Okay,
Yeah, and Elaine, I think it might be helpful to add review of the previous meetings, because these are all recorded. I think they should see the presentations that
Good idea.
occurred. So
Yeah.
maybe we add, I don't know what, last time it was maybe a little over an hour. So we could probably get those times pretty
you
easily.
can also send them the minutes too.
okay, the only thing I have a question of is, I don't know how to forward the minutes of the meeting. So Bob, since
They're
you're
on the
keeping them-
website.
that I didn't know. So our previously recorded Zoom meetings are available on the website.
They are, and the minutes, the actual hard copy of the minutes are also available.
Okay. Got it.
All right, do we have further discussion?
Okay, and we should also just find out from them, just the commitment, the time frame, because we need to get this like soon.
Got it. So I will ask them, I'll get this in the mail tomorrow, send it electronically, actually. And I will tell them that our next meeting is in 2 weeks. And I will ask them to have this information back to us for the next meeting.
They should send us an engagement letter right by then, definitely.
Exactly. Okay.
Can I ask before we, I have another question of the applicant. The last meeting we asked them, and maybe it's going to come up again at your next meeting, is that what could be put in place now? And I don't think you answered this question before all the things that you're suggesting will improve things are in place, assuming you approve this project. And I don't know if you are going to address that, but I know that was one of the things we specifically requested.
Right, some temporary measures in some of the
Right.
broken curb
Yeah.
areas.
I can speak to
so-
that. So we had the wetland scientists go out to site, and I believe they are still analyzing that assessment to
Okay.
see if there's anything that would be meaningful to do in the interim that wouldn't be causing more damage to the wetland than
Okay. So as long
benefit.
as you have that on your list, that we're looking for that.
So I checked out the site today, and I mentioned it earlier in the presentation that the vegetation within the wetlands is doing quite fine.
So
And
you wouldn't do anything at all. You just keep it the way it is. So
as of right now, with an active application in front of the commission, I would recommend not to do any work.
So not even any silt socks or anything like that at the
What?
broken curb sections?
We are currently before the board reactively to get a plan approved to improve the stormwater on site. So our plan is to, get the plan approved and then move forward with our stormwater management efforts.
Right now, you're gonna be doing that?
Say that again?
When are you gonna be doing that stormwater management those efforts?
Sorry, I
He-
can't, I didn't understand that.
What he's saying is the project before us will take care of those situations, I believe, is
When it
what
happens,
Mitch is saying.
but until now, everything is hunky-dory out there. I'm just surprised, that's all.
All right, so it doesn't sound like there's an appetite, or the applicant is saying there's not a need to address any of the current situations.
Yeah, Bob,
Correct.
I just chiming in here as the applicant, I can't say that I've concluded any real review. I understand the wetland scientists were out on site today, and the initial reaction is that there isn't really anything meaningful to do in the interim. As the applicant, I'm saying I need to actually meaningfully review that myself, and I can get back to you at the next meeting with what we think might be appropriate or not appropriate.
Okay. Thank you. Is there any other questions, comments, or discussions before I open it up to the public? Okay, are there any questions from the public?
Mm. Mm.
Is somebody trying to say something?
Mm. Hello?
Dennis, is that Dennis?
Yes. Do you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
Could I ask Mitch to put up that original photograph, the color photograph?
Which particular one?
The aerial photograph,
Oh, sure.
I think.
Probably. No, the color one.
You're looking for the aerial, I believe.
Okay. Now, if I can draw your attention to that stream on the left there. The one that Jim pointed out, the elevation was actually higher here than there's a drainage ditch that comes down here. Now, is that stream drawn to scale?
That's an actual photograph.
An actual photograph?
This is an aerial.
It's an aerial photograph? Has anyone been down to look at that?
Yeah, I have.
And does that seem right to you?
I noticed that at the 95 end, it's a lot of open water.
Yeah.
And as you get further down, it gets more congested. And I actually wondered how they mark the riverfront, the top of bank on that side, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a bank. It could be a lot of other indicators of bank full. And I don't know what they used, but I think the black line is showing the top of bank.
Yeah, well, I mean,
some of it I think is correct, but I'm not 100% sure. I tried to see from on top of the parking garage.
Yeah, so that,
I believe this is either very early spring before any foliage is out, because it looks like the trees are bare.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I seem to remember that was a lot wider. I wish I had pictures to show you, but
Dennis, it looks pretty wide right there.
this is water? Oh, that's the water.
Yeah,
Correct.
That's the, oh, okay, now I understand. So this stream is actually this wide. It's about what, about as wide as the parking lot, right? Would you say that? Right there, where it comes under 128,
it's,
Route 95? Oh, okay, thank you for pointing that out to me. Now, my understanding was, let's see, I don't know how to go and film. How do I do that? I don't know how to hold something up. Is there a way that I can get on, have my picture up here? How do I do that?
You can, are you trying to share your screen?
Yes, yes.
Yes, you can do that.
How
Down
okay.
towards the middle of your screen, there would be a share screen option in the middle.
Oh, yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now what do I do? It comes up.
You need to have selected what it is you want to share.
Oh, I was just gonna hold my camera up, turn the camera on and hold it up. Can I do that? No. Let's see.
Oh, so wait a minute, you have you actually have a picture, a hard copy of a picture you want to share with us?
Yes.
Oh, so yes, you could take your webcam and put it on the picture, though I don't know how well we'll be able to see that.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to practice how to do these things.
We'll send Jimmy over, help you out.
So is it?
What is the point you're trying, what is you
I'm
trying
just
to tell
saying,
us to show us?
Is that a? I mean, that used to be the what is known as the Ash, Eaton, and John Street brooks that come together as the Walker's Brook now. That's how it's known, as Walker's Brook. And my understanding was that it used to flow into the lake. And is that correct?
We have heard that. We don't know if that is accurate or not.
I was going to hold up a map that shows it flowing into the lake, and there's actually several of them. But does that matter if that's a year-round stream? It seems to be you're redirecting the stream now, because at the mouth it's higher than in the back. And in answer to Jim's question earlier, what all that water is going into the Saugus River overflow. That's what's happening to it. And also, one other thing I want to point out, Jim showed a drainage outlet along 95 that he said went under 95 to the end of my street. I live on the other side of the highway. And it's actually, he had the wrong spot on that. But I'd be happy to show him if he's interested.
So
Okay.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay, well, I live on Harvest Road, which is on the other side of the highway.
Right.
And from my property, I mean, before they built Harvest Road was there before they built 128.
Right.
When they built 128, they put a pipe under the ground. It flows from my property to the other side of Lake Quantico, to the other side of 95. So my concern is that if the property is raised and that stream is blocked, that the water will have no place else to go but onto my property.
Right,
And that's my concern.
that's, okay. I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have addressed already with the applicant that the elevations do not seem to indicate flow from 95 towards the lake
Well,
under normal conditions.
okay, Bob, I just want to interrupt and say that we need to figure out how that is functioning. Where is that going to and how is that connect to the lake? Because water can travel both directions.
Right.
And, depending on the conditions, it may flow opposite to what you think it should. So I don't know. I think it's something that needs to be looked into. Just for the same thing that Dennis is saying. Because if it did back up and go back to his property, I guess it could be a potential for that to happen. I'm not sure.
I mean, the Mini Maria used to be a sidewheel steamer. It was a big, big ship. And it used to go almost all the ways to Reading Center up that river. They started dredging the canal. I don't know if they finished it or not, but dredging the river. And it would be nice to, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the dam at Lowell Street. If you go down there in the spring, you'll see like thousands of fish about to die because they can't make it over the dam. And I mean, there was a full page letter saying, there was a front page photograph in the item recently saying that the Saugus River starts at Lowell Street. When actually, if I have a couple of maps there that show that the Saugus River flows into Lake Quannapowitt from near Willett Road, which has that blockage, which is unfortunate for the health of the lake. But
The Willard Road area, that's the inlet coming from under North Ave.
right, they call it Quannapowitt Creek now. If you Google it on if you Google Saugus River, you can see that it's called Quannapowitt Creek now, but traditionally the old maps from 1890 and 1911, which were done by engineers, show the Saugus River flowing near Willett Road.
This is what you might be talking about. Let's see. This is a really old one from.
Oh yeah, here it is. Wow, thank you very much. You can see this is the area next to the building, the proposed.
Yeah, this here must be the river coming in, correct?
Yeah, that's what they call Walker's Brook now, but it's Eaton, John, and Ash Street. You can go right up, and you can see how the boat went all the ways up to Reading Center along this river. And this is the Saugus River right here. You see that Saugus River comes down here?
Yeah, it comes around here.
And that goes in right at Willett Road.
Right, so it's to the left, Frank. Yeah, a little further left on the other side of the tracks.
On the other side of the tracks is the Saugus.
The headwaters.
So that's the swamp behind the car dealership right now.
Saugus River right there.
Yeah, that's between Parker Road and the tracks.
You could have fish coming up these streams, and spawning. I mean, right now, all these fish are getting killed right here because they can't get over the dam. Now
The dam, you're referring to the control boards?
Yeah, right here.
Okay.
So you could have fish coming up and spawning and providing food for people because they can lay their eggs rather than getting killed by vermin and rats and skunks and blue herons, of course, right here. I mean, and this system was designed by engineers. They knew what they were doing. When they built the Saugus River overflow, they put stop planks in it. So the water would be injected into the lake, and it would clean it, would turn it over 22 times a year rather than once, twice every 3 years. You know, and I mean, the only effect that might have on this project is that I don't know, is there a Rivers Protection Act? Is that in effect? I mean, they might, you know, isn't it something about 200 feet back from a river?
So that the river that we are talking about is considered a perennial stream.
Okay.
That is part of some of the discussion that we have had.
Can you build within 200 feet of a stream? I'm asking.
Yeah,
Well, there's already development there.
So you can rebuild.
yep.
Hmm. Okay.
I'm not, I guess, totally clear on the point that you're making. It sounds like you're talking about a loss of inflow to the lake
Yes.
that once was present.
Yes. Well, you're basically redirecting a river, a stream. Because it doesn't enter into the stream because, you know, Bob McLaughlin did an article about them pushing snowplows, pushing dirt and snow and stuff into the stream, into the culvert there. And I don't know if you've noticed or not, but when the lake freezes every winter, the ice pushes the sand up. And then when it thaws, it comes back and then it'll refreeze again and then it'll push the sand back up. So you wind up with dams under that culvert if you don't clean them. And I think that's, you could use this lake, the way it was designed, it would be clean, the water would be clean, but it would be very attractive if you, I don't know if you have a responsibility for this or not. I don't know if you can, you know, I don't even know if they need a license to build from the.
So Dennis, we have asked them to look at the elevations in that culvert and see what is happening there so we can have a better understanding of what's going on.
Thank you for your interest and I appreciate what you're doing. And thank you, Mitch. And for, I misunderstood that squiggly line. I didn't realize that was a photograph that was actually like 40 feet wide. Thank you very much. And I sign out.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public?
This is Scott Goddard from Goddard Consulting. If I could just add a comment. So Mitch and I work together on this. What I was thinking as we're going through this is, I think it would be helpful just to chart out the course for the upcoming hearings and specifically narrow down our topics of discussion. Could we just summarize what we're thinking in terms of upcoming hearings? I know we at least have stormwater as a topic and perhaps landscaping as a topic.
Lighting. Probably lighting will be a topic.
Is that a pertinent topic for the Conservation Commission?
That's something that we consider, yes.
And are you envisioning having a whole hearing on that, or could that be wrapped into a conversation about landscaping?
I think we would probably have, where you're totally surrounded by a wetland, I think we probably would have a hearing on that. we might want to think about a consultant for that, to review your lighting plan.
Is that something that, let's bet that a little bit further if we could. So,
Okay.
I've been doing this a long time, and I can't think of a time in my life I've ever had an entire hearing on lighting for wetland related matters.
Well, a hearing for us is one meeting, right?
What's that?
I'm talking about having one meeting on it. I'm not talking about going for days on it.
Right, it could be an hour, it could be one night topic, about the entire lighting plan for the property. It could be part of the landscape plan.
I think, why don't we try wrapping that into the landscape discussion and see how that goes? And if it feels like the conversation is extending too long, maybe we can split it into two. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds.
we can do, sure.
Elaine, I don't know whether or not, hopefully you can understand me, whether BSC has lighting expertise and how it affects, our interests. But maybe you could find that out too, Elaine.
I will ask. I'll see if they have somebody who can review that. I will say previously, we've kind of, just to put it out there, previously what we've done is with lighting plans, we've looked at I guess they call it the level of lumens. And so they're higher, of course, towards the center of the property. But the idea is they should get lower and lower the closer you get to the wetlands, so that you don't have lighting shining out into a wetlands, and that the wetlands remain as much as they can in their natural state and get natural light when it comes up in the morning and gets dark in the sunset, and wildlife rhythms are not disturbed by having a lot of unnatural light shining into the wetlands. And that's the basic concept. I will ask them, but just for those who haven't gone through this before.
Right, that's a
There's
good
also-
summary, Elaine.
There's also a Wakefield company, Spec Lines, that does lighting consulting. There was a seminar that the commission had
Oh,
last
that's
year.
right. That's right.
So do we want to say that at the next meeting, we can present on stormwater, and then the following meeting, we can present on landscaping / lighting? Does that seem reasonable?
I think that sounds good.
Okay.
And should we summarize what perhaps outstanding items remain as a result of this meeting and the last one that the commission is still seeking some feedback on?
Yes, that'd be good. Do you have notes of what some of the asks have been, or?
Yeah, I mean, Mitch and I have taken our notes, but I think it might be more helpful to hear directly from the commission as to what they feel has been vetted out as still remaining matters.
One of the ones we fairly recently talked about was the potential for temporary remediation, with the degraded areas on the property
Yep.
that you are going to be
understood.
looking at. I know
I
there
think
was
we
an
can, I think
issue.
we can address that one as we discuss stormwater at the next meeting as well.
Okay. There was the issue with the elevations of the stream, seeming to indicate that we don't have the flow we would be expecting under normal conditions.
Okay.
What else was there? Anybody else?
I'd like to know what this soil suitability assessment for on-site sewage disposal, what's that about? I don't,
But there is no on-site sewage disposal, is there?
that's what I don't understand what that is. I thought there was sewer there.
There is. There's no, the project will not be
Right, there's no.
generating any raw sewage.
Why is, well, this form is here that you filled out and you didn't certify it, but I've got a bunch of pages here. So why is it here? It's related to these test pits. I don't know.
I'm not sure which form in particular you're referring to, but I will. Is it part of the drainage report or was it?
Yes, it's part of the drain. It's part of the drainage report.
Okay, if it's part of the drainage report, I'll follow up with our civil engineer as to why that would have been included.
Yeah, and I think someone should have, according to the form, someone should have certified that these, this information, which I don't see any certification by anyone.
It's just a random question. In a redevelopment project such as this, that changes the use. Is there any issues about, whether some uses are inherently more stressful on the wetlands than others? For example, here we're looking at going from a commercial property that's used 5 days a week for 8 hours a day to having units that are going to be very densely populated with people there 24/7. It's just I just don't know what the I just didn't know whether that is something that whether that ever factors in or whether that or not.
That's a good question, Peter.
I mean, we're not just doing it. We're not just taking this and making another office park, which is what we had talked about doing, I think, before. So it was a little. This is just inherently, it's much different, and I just don't know whether, and I don't know whether the consultant would have any, for example, experience about whether that kind of question.
Yeah, no, this is Scott again. It's a fair question about sort of land use and intensity of land use. Regulations don't really speak to that matter in terms of wetland impacts. It talks about the resource areas and the alterations of those resource areas. So human activity or traffic activity, these kind of things aren't factored into alterations to wetland resource areas. That's fairly consistent throughout the 30+ years of the DEP's wetlands program.
So I have in my notes here for other things we were looking for. One of them was a profile of the wet basins and their relation to the groundwater and how that interaction works. So that was one of the things that Jim wanted to see for the next meeting.
Yeah, and I think that would tie in nicely to the stormwater discussion as well. So that makes sense.
Okay, all right. And then the wildlife issues. So you've got the wetlands, you've got the wet basins, and you're saying it's a net improvement. So one of the things you would want to do is address how it's an improvement to wildlife. And it says here, show impact on wildlife in writing and other possible alterations on the BVW. So one of the things that, if you're talking about wildlife, I think there's an interplay between wildlife and landscaping. So one of the things you want to think about in your landscaping plan and your lighting plan, for example, is you obviously have a dense use there on the property itself, surrounded by wetlands. How are you going to landscape to create kind of a noise and a light barrier to protect wildlife on the other side?
Yep, and that's a fair point. We heard that coming out of the first meeting, I believe, and I think we'll appropriately handle that question like you hinted toward at the landscape discussion. So all these issues I think that have come up will fit either comfortably within the stormwater discussion and or the landscaping discussion.
question, where are you with the planning board?
We're continuing to have hearings with the ZBA.
ZBA, thank you, sorry.
Hi, can you hear me all right now? Great. We're continuing to have hearings with the with the zoning board of appeals. And I believe we expect to have at least a few more hearings with them.
And so far, you haven't, your plans have not changed as a result of those.
Our plans haven't changed. Well, that's actually not true. We've had stormwater management changes on the site. We've had actually 3 plan revisions that we've had through that process so far. And yeah, so we there is some possibility that there might be some other plan revision, which we'll of course keep the commission opined on that.
Okay, and Matt, you are going to get the locations of the test pits put on some kind of a plan?
Yes, we can have that done.
Okay.
Jim, you would also ask for some increase in font size for the elevations on the drawing.
There aren't any elevations on the drawing.
They're there, but they're very small.
Yeah, they're like flag, like number markers or something.
We can have that done.
Again, if I could just add one more thing. I know Mitch, you talked a little bit about the sedimentation that occurred in the river. You know, that's actually an alteration to the resource area, and you wrote it off as saying the plants are pretty robust in there and it's doing well. Can you give me a little bit more information and a little bit more backup on that, and kind of convince us that that's the case with some photos and a little bit more behind that?
Yep, I can put that in a little letter to you guys showing you some pictures of the vegetation that's out there.
Okay, yeah, if you can just identify maybe on a plan, where that deposition occurred.
Sure, yep.
Perfect.
Was there anything else you had on your list, Elaine?
No.
Anything anybody else had? Okay. All right, so if there's nothing else, then we'll plan on continuing until the 14th of October. And we'll move on to our next topic.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. I'll
right,
get all
thank you.
that to you as soon as possible.
All right, have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. So now we have old and new business. Is there anything in particular, that you want to start off with, Elaine?
Just for the record, I'm looking through the agenda. It might be a good idea to officially continue the public hearing for Lake Street, file number 607.
I did mention at the beginning of the meeting that would be continued.
Oh, that's canceled. Okay. So the next one is Patriot Circle, request for a minor modification. And Rebecca told me that she sent you some information this afternoon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question is, do you want to consider these changes a minor modification?
Yeah, what were the changes? Can you just?
Let me pull it. Okay, so I'll just read the letter. To whom it may concern, this letter is being written to describe revisions made to the above project at 0 Patriot Circle. And then he asks you to refer to a drawing S1, foundation plan, and as L1 landscaping plan to follow the revisions listed below, although they're all on S1. Revision A on sheet S1, the proposed foundation footprint in the rear of the house was moved out 5 feet 5 inches. Revision B, the proposed foundation footprint at the rear of the house was moved out as shown 3 feet 11 inches. We also added a walkout basement stairs, which will be enclosed with a roof. The foundation footprint at these added stairs moved to the right 5 feet 3 inches. To the right of the stairs, it was moved out 1 foot 11 inches off the old design footprint as shown. 3, revision C on sheet S1. The proposed foundation footprint at the garage doors was moved out 5 inches as shown. And then it says, here we go, the landscape plan, sheet L1, display both old design, which is dashed line, and new proposed design, solid line. And then I think it was last meeting, you requested some information about whether these changes could be accommodated by the infiltration structure. So I have a letter here from Sullivan Engineering Group. And it says, Conservation Commission members, I have reviewed the proposed site plan for 0 Patriot Circle, Wakefield by PJF and Associates, and the drainage system shown is sufficient to handle the slight increase in building footprint. The approved plan had a house footprint of 3,364 square feet, and the new proposed house has a footprint of 3,379 square feet. Therefore, there's an overall increase of 15 square feet, which can be accommodated by the approved drainage infiltration system, and it's signed off by John Sullivan, registered professional engineer.
Okay.
Does any of this impact the 25-foot buffer zone?
Hold on, let me look at the plan.
Yeah, it's just hard to see this. It's very hard just to say this narratively and understand what it, what it means.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm
As
looking
I
at it.
recall, I think that a large part of this project sits on top of a large retaining wall. And everything that, oh, here it is. And so the retaining wall is 25 feet away from the edge of the wetland, and all of the proposed changes are on the street side of the retaining wall. So no, there won't be an increase into the 25-foot buffer.
Mm-hmm. And it won't affect trees, or it's just hard. I mean, I guess it's just hard to know whether there would be has anyone, have you seen that, do you have a sense, I mean, do you have a clear sense of what, or recommendation based on you looking at the plan, whether you think this is, it's just so hard without seeing a plan, without understanding what,
Could I show you guys a plan? I have everything ready.
Okay.
You want me
Go ahead.
to, let me, sorry, I'm working off 2 different computers. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the engineers. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me just flip it for you. Okay. So this is the civil engineer's plan. And I just want to pull up also the new revised foundation plan is what kind of she was reading the letter from. So,
We don't see anything.
oh,
We don't see anything. Sorry.
okay, hold on.
You gotta double click it, I think.
Double click the share.
Oh, not
Or
open.
if it's open, you'll have to select the
Okay,
view
hold
to share.
Okay.
You still see a desktop.
Okay, hold on one sec. So sharing screen.
I don't even have it.
New share.
Glad I'm not the only one that has these problems.
I normally work off my other computer, but I'm on a laptop right now, so sometimes it's harder. Can everybody see this?
We got it now.
Okay,
got it.
okay, perfect. Okay, so this is the footprint of basically what we're describing that in that letter is this old, this dash line right here. See right here, that light gray line is the old footprint.
Yes.
I can zoom out a little bit more so you can see kind of, so basically we're adding a little bit right here, which is A, a little bit right here, which is B, which is just this little area right here to get the basement stairs to fit. And then this is all the same. This is like a 3-inch in. And then over here was where the stairs were. So this is almost located in the same spot. And then to show you the plan, oh,
That's helpful. That, by the way, that was very helpful to see.
sorry, this is like so tough. Okay, so there we go. So then this is the engineer's plan. And let me scroll over.
Don't see anything again.
Oh, again?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I don't know why I have to new share every time. It's strange, but okay, now we're good, right?
Got it.
Okay. Okay. So here is the site. Let me see if I can, okay. So this is that retaining wall that she was discussing right here. The 100-foot buffer zone is this line right here. And I believe the 25-foot, where's the, let's see it, I don't even think it's on here. But I
25
mean,
goes to the, I see the wetland W5, W6, and that goes to the, and that goes to the retaining wall is 25.
yeah,
Okay.
so we're protecting that. The scope of work is really just trying to add a little bit right here and a little bit back here. We're not out of any other setbacks or anything like that. And this retaining wall is kind of protecting. We didn't go anywhere close to that, other than what was already proved.
Okay.
And that's it.
I'd like to make a motion to, do we make them, do we have to vote on this?
Yes.
Could I make a motion that we consider this a minor modification?
So moved. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Frank?
You're on mute.
Or he's deliberating.
I'll leave that up there.
We'll move to Ken.
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yes.
Teresa?
Yes.
Silvana?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
And back to you, Frank.
He's still on mute.
Just raise your hand if you approve.
Okay. you
Okay,
approve.
very good.
And I also approve. Okay. Minor modification it is.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Now we can.
I'm entirely locked out. I can't unmute myself.
So did you approve or were you just
did.
unsure of yourself?
I got a thumbs up.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I still
All right.
can't.
So we're all set.
Great, thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Elaine, next you have the certificate of compliance for 200 Corner Parkway.
It's the old filing.
Right.
So there's a block on the certificate of compliance that says no work was commenced, which is
Correct.
for just such circumstances. And Rebecca told me this afternoon that Jim had some questions about whether or not it would vacate any earlier wetlands delineation. So the only thing I could find was a reference under a order of resource area delineation. And that's good for 3 years. And so the accompanying wetlands delineation is good for 3 years. So there was nothing in that I could find anywhere. I looked through the MACC handbook, the regulations, that would change the fact that a wetlands delineation is good for 3 years. So it seems to be good for 3 years, no matter what the surrounding paperwork does.
Okay. That's good to know.
All right, so then we need to vote also on that, right? To issue a certificate of compliance for 200 quarter pallet. So is there a motion to issue that certificate of compliance?
I make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, Frank,
Yes.
Ken,
I would recuse myself.
oh, that's true. Savannah,
yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
I also vote yes.
Okay. So the next one on the agenda is 67 Harrison Avenue, request for a certificate of compliance. And they must have asked for a continuance because it's been crossed out. The following after that is Millbrook Estates. So I talked to Rebecca this afternoon about this, and she tells me that somebody complained to DEP that asked her to look into it. Evidently, they're flooding out their neighbors. So what she did was she wrote a enforcement order. She looked through the files and saw that they had not they had not submitted an as-built plan. They had not requested a certificate of compliance, although the project is very old. So she has requested that you ratify the enforcement order. The enforcement order would require them to submit an as-built plan, which would examine the drainage. So I went out there this afternoon to get some idea of why, in fact, it is flooding. So they have a detention basin that picks up a lot of the parking lot runoff, and it doesn't look like it's ever been maintained. It's full of vegetation. I looked in it, there's standing water in it. So it may well be that they need to clear out that detention basin. It may be clogged with vegetation. The other thing I did was drive around the complex. And as I looked towards the back, it seemed to me that some of the area may have settled around a catch basin. So the catch basin may not be picking up the runoff. I couldn't really tell. What I thought I would do was to go out there when it's raining hard and see exactly where this drainage, where the drainage is going and who exactly is getting flooded out. But in the meantime, it seemed that the first thing to do is to make sure everything was constructed as it should have been. So she's asking you to ratify the enforcement order.
Okay.
Right, she did send an email around with the chain of correspondence, including DEP's letter.
Yep.
Don't know if everybody read that or not, but it seems like the proper approach, and DEP also endorsed the enforcement order.
What did we just get sent? I'm sorry. I'm looking at my,
Is an email from,
At 1:21, Rebecca sent an email.
okay.
It also includes the letter she sent, and it looks like she sent an enforcement order without our signature.
No, that's exactly what she's looking for. She has prepared all of the documents,
right,
and what she wants is
Oh,
she
so we're
wants you
not
to ratify it,
ratifying-
and
we're not
I'll send it around to be signed.
So we're not ratifying enforcement order. We're voting to issue an enforcement order.
correct.
We're not ratifying the prior issuance of one.
Oh, you're right. She didn't, you're correct. She didn't sign it and send it and ask you to ratify it. So you're right, Peter.
I'm just telling you, her letter, if you look at her email, she sent the letter and she says she sent it and she signed it.
Well, then you would be ratifying.
Right.
It would be, yes, as a matter of fact, it says here to please ratify. I take it back. Please ratify the enforcement order. So she sent it in her own name.
Don't let
What?
Peter bully you.
Well, I'm sorry, what?
I said, don't let Peter bully you.
Oh, no,
Right.
you said she hadn't sent it. No, you're the one who said that you didn't send it. I said, wait a minute. If you didn't send it, then why are you ratifying it?
Sorry, I'm looking at the agenda. So she did send it. She just wants a ratification.
Yeah, it does say vote and ratify enforcement order.
Yep. Do it.
So, is there a motion to ratify the enforcement order?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Silvana,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yes.
Jimmy,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Frank, was that a yes?
Yep, can you hear me?
Now I can, yes.
Okay.
And I also vote yes. All right, so we need to get that in our hands to sign off.
Yes, I have a number of documents that have to be signed.
Yeah.
I'll talk about that at the end because I want to know who's around tomorrow. What I'd like to do is if I can get 4 people who are around tomorrow, I'd like to just drive it around to everybody's house. Plus, there are some other things I added on at the last minute, all of which need to be signed, but I'll get to that at the end. So the next one is 109 Farm Street. I think Rebecca sent you a set of plans for 109 Farm Street. Evidently, they are filing a notice of intent for an addition in the back of the house. And there is an existing pool there, so they're probably going to incorporate the existing pool into the notice of intent as an after the fact filing. So the question before you is Rebecca's question as to whether or not you will accept the plan that was submitted as being sufficient to describe the project, and will you accept it as part of the notice of intent application?
Rebecca sent it at 2:09 this afternoon.
Right.
Yeah.
It's labeled as survey plan.
So.
Did I see that?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Easier there than on my phone.
Did you guys get a second page on that? That was kind of funky.
Yeah, no, I didn't get it.
Looks like a backwards stamp.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's weird.
It's just
Yeah, basically just a mortgage plan.
the flip side of that plan.
Yeah, that's what it was. It's very faint.
Oh, was there something here, you think?
Is a, yeah, see
Yeah,
it?
it's gotta be, because he's got a stamp on it. So there's gotta be some kind of
But it
content.
looks like it's the back, it's the wrong side. I think it's that
Oh,
bleeding
yeah,
through.
yeah, yeah. It's
It might be a
see-through.
two-sided
It's
copy.
see-through.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
bleed
yeah,
through.
see-through.
I don't know if it's a bleed through or I think it was that page. Was,
Probably his stamp led through.
I think that's a mirror of this page. If
But
you-
Oh.
Stamp's
yeah,
backwards.
if you flip this around,
Mhm.
that stamp will fall right on the stamp. I think that's what you're looking at.
It's a two-sided copy. It's the back
Double-sided
side.
copy. That's right. Double-sided copy.
Oh, that could be it too. Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, we actually had a, was it this property or the one next to it? We actually walked.
What number
Oh.
farm is this?
It was this one.
It
We
was.
talked about piping the stream. on the-
Exactly.
Which Rebecca said isn't going to be an option.
All right, so they're adding in a small addition in the corner and the pool.
The pool's already there.
Oh, so it's
They
really
got a
just,
building permit and they didn't send them to conservation or
Okay.
to get the stream setback variance.
I mean, it's pretty flat back there. That stream actually continues along the back of those houses, then makes its way under Farm Street. And then it goes, actually, Jimmy's old house runs right alongside that,
What number farm is that?
109.
109? See. Having some issues here. Can you guys see can you see Google Maps now, or are you still looking at the plan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we see it.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's it. So the stream follows that tree line in the rear. Yeah, exactly. And as it gets to Farm Street, you can see it much more wooded. That's where it goes under Farm Street and crosses.
Okay.
It is piped prior to the group of trees, I think. So the pipe daylights, I think, on 109.
That's correct.
Okay. Wasn't there someone who had an oil release and it came down the hill? Was it this person right here?
That was on Old Nahat.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
And it
no.
came down and he's getting oil in his pool from the groundwater.
Yeah, Jimmy's old house.
That's Jim's old house, yeah.
Oh, it is? Okay. I don't know why I remember that.
I don't know if it was that house, but it was further.
It was.
Yeah,
It was that house,
okay.
curiously.
Wait, this is 109 Farm Street?
Yes. Yeah, I think, Peter, you may have walked it with us.
So what are we doing now? Are they submitting an NOI, or are they just asking that this?
They want to know if you'll accept the plan that they've submitted with it, because they hand drew the addition on it and had the plan stamped apparently. Or do you want a whole plan done?
Well,
I think this is sufficient. It's a 15.5 by whatever addition, squaring off the corner of the house. So you're gonna be at least 50 feet away from the stream.
No, they're not.
No,
No,
it's 30 to the corner of the property.
no, I
And
think.
another
it's-
25.
Right.
looks like.
What did you say, Judy?
Rebecca said they were closer than 50 feet.
I mean, it's 20, it says 29.5 to that corner of the property.
Right, that could be right, I agree.
And then the property line on the right of that is 25 again.
So it's just, right.
Are you talking about the pool?
The pool, yes. I'm sorry, the pool, not the addition, I'm sorry.
Oh, but the pool's existing, you said.
Right. But that's
Yeah,
gonna
but they
be an
didn't
after the
file
fact
for it.
filing. Right, no, right, but that's gonna be an after the fact filing with this. I think,
Oh.
yeah,
Because that right there is 17 feet.
Right. So the pool's about 20 feet away, potentially.
So do we care about the pool? I mean, they just want to do an addition, or is the pool new as
but
well?
they have to get an after the fact filing because they never filed for the pool.
I see. So we have to. What's the story with the setbacks on the side? Is that's not our problem, right?
No.
So I don't understand, Judy, what's the building commissioner gonna do?
Nothing. They got a permit for the pool.
Oh, they
The
did,
homeowner didn't do anything wrong. They got the permit.
so they just didn't file with us.
Yeah,
Right,
what's up?
because they said they didn't know. I don't know what the situation was, but the building inspector at the time didn't say you need a permit from conservation and didn't tell them they needed a variance. So it's too late for that.
I think I'd want them to add the distance of the pool to the
Yeah.
stream. They can handwrite that in. But I think that would be good, useful information.
I agree with that.
But I do remember it's pretty flat back there.
Right side of the street. This one, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So they're gonna file an NOI.
Yes.
I mean, if it was just the addition, we'd probably say that it would be a negative determination of applicability.
How far is it from,
Well, as it's 30, it's 30, 40, 55 feet away, approximately.
Did they cut down that big tree that's on the is that gone? Looks like that's what the pool is.
Can't
I look at-
tell.
I'm looking at the satellite picture now. It's old, maybe old, I don't know. I don't see a pool on there.
This one must be older.
it was put in 2018.
So they cut down that tree too, right, to put the pool in, I bet. That provided, that provided cover for the stream.
Yeah,
Maybe they cut them both down. Looks like there's two big trees that are providing habitat for the stream. And I wonder if they're both cut down.
See, where's the pool? So the pool is basically
Right in back of
almost,
Yeah,
right,
dead
almost
center.
dead center in the middle of the house.
Yeah, so go back to that pool thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there's no way that those two trees are there,
Right.
They cut down all the trees.
Well, we can't be sure.
Well, we can go out there and look at it then. I mean, if the point is that we have this after the fact pool, I guess the question is what, no, I don't even know what to say.
We could say no.
we can say with like a better scaled plan.
Well, could we ask for,
Yeah.
could
I'm
we
agree
ask
with that.
for, could we ask them to do some work to preserve the habitat around?
Well, we
I
should
mean,
do a
we
site,
could al-
once, we could do a site walk, certainly, to see what has happened out there.
I just
We can
want
also
to,
ask them to
just
show
look,
where-
now that we're looking at it, just look at where those two big trees were that were in the backyard. So when we go out there, if they're gone. And I guess maybe I can see where the street maybe doesn't provide, I don't know what it does. Not clear to me.
we can ask them to show where the old trees were and show what trees are still remaining on that plan, although it's gonna start getting pretty busy. What are those numbers there? Do you know?
down on the bottom of the drawing on the left-hand side, they tell you what they are. The 1 through 8 is for the stream, for the.
Oh.
And 1 through 21 for the stream. But I don't know how accurate any of that stuff is. I don't even know who did it.
This guy.
So I want to add here that we went out to that property some years ago because this man had requested that stream in the back of his property be piped in.
Yeah.
So I talked to Rebecca about it today, and he said when he put in the pool, he was of the impression that the stream was going to be piped in, so he didn't really foresee that the pool would be too close to a stream because he thought the stream was going to go into a pipe. So that might explain some of the distance.
Okay.
Well, once they file a notice, we can, and get before us, we can do a site walk.
Well, what do you, about the
Is it a
plan?
chick- is it a chicken and an egg thing though, that if they're asking us to accept this drawing, are we to make the filing and then we go out there and we're not satisfied with what we see? I mean, can we Can we,
They're just asking about the plan now, and right now, they're not asking us, we're not ruling on the NOI. They just want to know if this plan is good enough. I think we're saying the pool should show exactly how far away it is from
okay.
the wetland, and I think we're also saying we want to know if you've cut down trees, where were they?
Right.
Those two things.
Yeah, probably put where the trees are now compared to where the wetlands are. Where the trees now, maybe put some in the drawing. How close are they to the wetlands?
If they're there.
Right. Judy, you have enough to go back to them on?
Yeah, I mean, I think they said they use GIS to determine the location. So nothing, I don't think is very exact. But we've gone out there before. I think you have an idea of the property.
What's the question here? What are we
If
trying
this
to?
drawing is sufficient for their NOI.
Well, it really doesn't meet any of the requirements, but I don't know.
I mean, it's stamped by an engineer, but it doesn't tell us, how close the pool is or.
Or even the pool, the relationship of the pool to the house. That would be another thing I'd like to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if they have flags, tell them to put the 25-foot no disturb zone on there and the wetland buffer zone. The buffer zone BVW. I mean, those need to be on the plan. You have to identify all the resource areas.
Right.
So I guess the answer.
I guess,
no.
so I guess the answer is no, yeah. Mhm.
Well, the other thing might be to have Elaine go out and verify it if I don't know if I want to have.
No filing. Why?
Yeah, exactly.
What?
Why go to that degree yet? When
Yeah.
there's
They're
just
checking
a
it
plan
in.
right now.
Your point, Jim, is that that for us to go out, we have to accept the filing. And once we accept the filing, we can't complain about the filing being deficient.
That's right.
Yes, we can.
We can complain about the filing, but the figure may or
So
may
can
not
we
be.
provisionally accept it and say maybe we'll accept it for purposes of filing, but we may just get another plan?
Judy, can I ask you a question? Why are we being asked this question? We shouldn't be asked this question. They should just follow.
I think because they don't want to pay for a full plan. That's my guess.
Well, they're actually in the regulations. There are requirements for a plan for a notice of intent. Just refer to that section. Say,
Right. We should be asked to rule on this. It's not.
Okay, so, well, Rebecca just wanted to check in. So it sounds to me as if you do not find the plan acceptable. You want another plan that adds that shows the distance from the pool to the stream. You want to know when the NOI is filed, whether or not they cut down any trees. You want to see and where. And you want to see the 25-foot and the 100-foot buffer zone and all other resource areas. And so tell them that's what the new plan should show.
And marking the distance from the house to the pool as well.
And distance from the house to the pool, okay? No, the distance from the house to the pool or the distance of the house to the stream?
No,
House to the pool, pool to the stream.
In the pool to the stream, from the house to the front end of the pool and the back end of the pool to the stream.
Got it.
Just so I know where
Okay.
they build another pool someday, they don't.
Yeah, we just don't know how accurate that location is for the pool.
Okay. All right, I got it.
Would it be appropriate to ask if they've cut down trees
Yes, we were.
prior to the pool?
We were
Yeah.
asking that question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well.
All right, so I have another one that came in late this afternoon from an attorney requesting a certificate of compliance for 19 Kathy Lane. It dates back to 1990. And it was a project done by the town of Wakefield, where they extended a 16-foot pipe on an easement across 19 Kathy Lane. And they did some regrading to even out the slope. There was no requirement under the order for a as-built plan. I went out there this afternoon and not surprisingly, it is completely and thickly revegetated. So in my opinion, there's no reason why the certificate of compliance couldn't issue.
Okay.
All right. Oh, they're selling that house. They sold it.
Yes, they are.
I
Yep,
saw this. I saw
they
this
also-
sold when that's part of my jogging route that takes me by your house, Frank.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I called you out. I saw you outside. I yelled, but you were too dialed in with your headphones.
Okay. Okay, well, I know that house. Okay, so like you're saying you recommend that the certificate of compliance issue then, right?
Yes.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Silvana,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Teresa,
Yeah.
Jimmy,
Yep.
Ken,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
and I so vote yes to issue that certificate of compliance.
All right, the last two items, tree removal request, 49 Essex Street. I sent her an email today with an attachment with the tree removal policy because her request indicated that the trees were not actually dead. And she wasn't sure if she wanted to have them removed or cut back. So I asked her to send a letter from a certified arborist. 24 Winnisemmet. I went out there this afternoon. There was a little confusion. She said she hadn't called, and I think it may have come from Dennis Fazio from the town, so I'll get back to him tomorrow and put these on for the next agenda. And then it'll be a little more taken care of. So, sorry, I'm just writing. So I have a request for you. There are a lot of signatures that need to be done, a lot of paperwork here. And also, we never received back the request for determination of applicability from the MBTA Lowell Street project. And I need the 4 signatures on that. I think that one went out by mail with the idea that it would be forwarded.
No, I think that's the one I have.
Oh, you've got it, Jim. Are there any more signatures on that besides yours?
Yeah, I've got 3 signatures. I'm trying to get one more.
I can,
Oh,
I'm
Jim.
around.
Jim, I'm sorry. I was at a christening on Sunday. I know you tried to call me.
Yeah.
I can swing by tomorrow if you want. I'm working from home and I can sneak out.
Same. I'm
Okay,
working from
so
home all day as well.
actually, that brings me to my next question. All of these signatures, what I'd like to do is, because 19 Kathy Lane has a closing next Thursday, I don't think there's enough time to put them in the mail, get them forwarded and get them back. So I was wondering if I could drive around tomorrow and get everybody's signatures. And I'm wondering if there are 4 people available tomorrow that I could swing by your house and get your signature on all of these documents.
If it's before 5:30, 6:30 and after 7, yes.
I'm working from home tomorrow. We just gotta coordinate what time around me.
I'm working from home, so you got Jim. Jim, are you going to be working at home or no?
No, I won't be home tomorrow.
I'll be working from
Okay,
home.
so that's Ken. Peter,
I'll be around most of the day. I have a haircut downtown. I can walk to you if you want me to at 12, right before 12:30. or 12.
All
yeah,
right, so I'll meet you at around noon. Okay,
I'm
so that's
available.
3 more people.
You don't need me then? You've got the
No,
4?
I do need you.
Okay, all right, I have.
You're home
conference call-
tomorrow?
Yeah, and hold on, I'm just trying to figure out my conference calls here. I should be available between 2 and 5.
Is anybody around in the morning? I finish up at 12:30.
Yeah, I can be, yeah,
am.
up until 10.
Right.
So
be
I have to
available.
get you, I'm Savannah, I get you before 10?
Please, yeah. I have various,
And
minutes.
Elaine, do you mind coming by my house then? Because I'm right just a block away.
Oh, yeah. So
That's better
you
for me.
want, so if I go around 10, I can pick up Peter, Savannah, and Ken, right?
I'm available
Yes.
10:30 to 11:30 for the morning.
Yeah,
30 to 11:30. I just need one more person. Is anybody
do it.
else around tomorrow?
Frank just said he's,
I am.
Who's that?
Right.
Frank.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Frank? What time, Frank?
I'm pretty open tomorrow. I would say the best time would be,
If she's coming by at 10 o'clock around, so to get Sylvana's and mine, can she go by your house? Because you're right nearby as well.
you know what, anytime in the morning.
Okay,
I can run
all
out
right,
the door.
Ken, so what I'll do is I'll swing by everybody else around 10 and leave Ken to the end so I can catch him at 10:30 and I'll have all the paperwork ready to go.
May I say, Elaine, aren't you good to do this?
Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind. It's nice to get out of the office, drive around the car.
I'm only sorry I won't be able to see you.
What? I know. I'm looking forward to the end of these Zoom meetings, I must say.
Me
It'll
too.
be nice to see everybody in person again.
Although I don't mind when it's this late and I'm home, on a Zoom is good. I can just go upstairs instead of getting in the car and get home.
Okay, so that just leaves me with Jim. So Jim, if you leave that letter outside your house,
Yeah,
I can swing by and have somebody else sign it.
I
yeah,
can sign it if you want.
I can do that. I'll leave it with all the.
Or Jim, if you want, before you go to work, you can just put it in my mailbox and text me and I'll just grab it so I can sign it and give it to Elaine when she comes by.
No,
Is that all right? Or no?
No, why don't I just leave it here and you can pick it up? 'Cause I'm
All
gonna be
right, so Jim, you'll leave it where? On the bench?
on the bench with the other stuff that's still there.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's stuff, okay.
I'm sorry, what other stuff?
All the files for,
All the other missing paperwork.
yeah. Right. Oh, yeah, it's still sitting on my, you'll see what's out there.
All right, do you want me to take everything else as well?
You might as well.
Okay,
Does any of it require signatures?
No.
And Jim,
okay.
I just want to remind you of our site visit at 9 o'clock on Sunday, right, Jim?
You said 8.
8.
He tried trapping you.
I'm sorry, Jim. I meant 8. Forgive me.
Jimmy, that's a lawyer trick.
Right.
You can get up early, I'll buy you breakfast.
Get to admit,
Literally,
they get you to
literally
admit
did not
something.
want you at that site visit.
Oh, lawyer trick.
Okay, so Savannah, I have a 9:30 site visit tomorrow. So I'll probably swing by your house closer to 9, so I can get that done,
That's
go to
fine.
my site visit, and then swing around for everybody else. So I'll
That's
see you
totally
first
fine.
at around 9-ish. Oh,
Not a problem.
no, I can't do
Sure.
that either, because I don't. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow around 9.
That's fine, totally fine.
Okay,
I'll be home by 6 o'clock tomorrow night if you need something.
all right, thank you.
All right.
All right,
Can I make a
anything else?
motion? Can I make the motion?
Can I say one thing? Can I say one
Go
thing?
ahead, Judy.
I sat in on that webinar, the Charles River Floating Wetland this afternoon. I think Rebecca sent you an email. about it.
Yes.
Yes, how was it?
It was excellent. It was very interesting. It's a small floating wetland, but they said they could see observable signs that it improved the biodiversity. So they're
Yeah,
going to make a,
They presented to us.
what,
They had a presentation for us, right? Yeah,
the Charles River floating wetland?
yeah. Didn't they have a presentation for us?
No.
Or we saw a video or something.
Yeah, they had a webinar today. Yeah, there was a video on how they put it together.
We looked
Right,
at
I
it
think-
once briefly and discussed
Yeah,
it.
Rebecca had sent it us to us.
Okay.
before.
But the webinar, they have kayak tours to show people what it looks like, how it works. So I was thinking that could be someone that we could see. It's a PhD student who's running the program. So maybe he could come out at some point to do a seminar and talk about it, because maybe that's something that could be used on Lake Quantapowhat, because they're also investigating how to use it to lower phosphorus levels as well. So I think it could be something valuable. It was an interesting webinar.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Definitely.
attending it, Judy. And enlightening us.
Elaine, do you have anything else?
No, I don't.
Okay. Peter, would you like to make that motion to adjourn?
I'd be delighted. I hereby make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Secondo.
Okay, all in favor? Frank? Frank?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Yeah.
That's weird. I'm not on mute. I didn't touch anything.
So
You
were you in
debating whether to
favor,
adjourn
in
now?
favor of adjourning?
I think I need to reboot my computer or something.
Are you in favor of adjourning, Frank? Yes or no?
I don't know. Let's talk about it for a few minutes. No, yes. I'm in favor. Let's adjourn.
Ken?
Yes.
Jimmy?
Yep.
Teresa?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Savannah?
Yes.
I also vote to adjourn. Good night.